in private or when speaking to us, the media. Anyway, brilliant package there from our producers and Jamie O'Hara. The Inspector is back with the Sports Bar alongside Jason Cunday from Tuesday night at 10 p.m. That a look ahead to this evening's Premier League action with Now. So don't forget, with a Now Sports Day membership, you can stream all the Sky Sports action, including Manchester City versus Spurs, live today from just £11.99 without a contract. Search Now Sports.
Stay ahead of the game on TalkSport with a Now Sports Day membership. The only way to watch Man City versus Tottenham live today on Sky Sports for £11.99. No contract. Search Now Sports. 18 plus. Stream via internet. Terms apply.
And we never even got around to wondering if Tottenham might get a result this afternoon. It's a game you can hear live and exclusively from the Etihad on TalkSport from 5:30 p.m. So let's get the latest odds with Betfair.
Game day on TalkSport with Betfair. Get daily rewards on football. Bet £20 worth of multiples or bet builders and get a £5 free bet. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
So at 12:30 here at the London Stadium on TalkSport, West Ham versus Newcastle. How do we think this one will go then? What have you gone for?
Well, in my position, normally Sam or Clive take care of this, so I'm feeling the weight of responsibility on my shoulders. But I did think a West Ham win last night, and that's only been reinforced by the team news that we've heard, and we've spoken about it, the three of us. No Sam Maximan for Newcastle, so that little element of the unknown and the uncertain is gone from Newcastle to a great extent, and that plays into West Ham's hands. Even though there's no Lanzini, Ben Rama's a more than able deputy coming in, so I'm thinking a West Ham home win here. OK, well, a West Ham win, if you back them, is at 20-13 on. Newcastle United to win is 4-1. You can back the draw at 29-10 with Betfair as well. And each week we place a bet on the Betfair Sportsbook. All the winnings go to the Bobby Moore Fund, raising funds for life-saving bowel cancer research. So, Dance, what have you gone for in that regard? I've gone for three home wins in the games we got today. 3 home wins because it just, I mean, Manchester City at home to Tottenham, I can't see anything other than Manchester City taking advantage of this slightly uneasy atmosphere around Tottenham. And Arsenal at home to Brentford in our TalkSport 2 commentary. Brentford are on a poor trotter form. Arsenal appear to be enjoying their football a little bit more, even though they've got their problems with, keeping some players happy. So I'm going for 3. I'm keeping it simple this afternoon.
Absolutely.
Keep it simple, stupid. 3 home wins.
Exactly what the fans are expecting and hoping for here in the London Stadium. So an Arsenal, City and West Ham treble on the Betfair exchange, coming in at just under 2-1. £50 will return £147, 12 pence for the Bobby Moore Fund. Fingers crossed that comes through. All thanks to Betfair as the West Ham United players trot out here at the London Stadium to start their warm-up. All thanks to Betfair. You can get a £5 free bet when you bet £20 on multiples or bet builders with their daily rewards. Betfair, you'll get no cash-out suspensions on match odds and over or under goal markets on football. Of course, it's 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
Game day on TalkSport with Betfair. Bet with the cash-out you can rely on this season with no cash-out suspensions on match odds and over-under goal markets. Exclusions and conditions apply. Selected markets. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
Now, Crystal Palace have introduced a new aftercare package to help their young academy players who don't quite make it. This is a really interesting and important story. The former Palace midfielder Darren Ambrose has been taking a look at what that package offers, how difficult it is for players when they are dropped, and how much aftercare has improved over the course of time.
Being dropped from an academy can be devastating.
Many of the lads would have obviously been pinning their hopes on being a professional footballer, and obviously that doesn't happen to very many people.
Every time I saw anyone, actually, how's the football going on? The idea of dealing with that was too much for me to bear. I couldn't see anyone, I just couldn't do that.
But Crystal Palace are trying to change that. They've introduced a new 3-year aftercare package to help those who haven't quite made it. So how does the scheme help these youngsters? And are we turning a corner when it comes to aftercare? Ashley Thompson was 19 years old when he was dropped from Fulham's academy.
My answer, anytime anyone ever said, Ashley, what happens if you don't become a footballer? My answer was, I am going to be a footballer. So everyone knew that part of me. The embarrassment of having to sign on, going to a job centre, and the idea of anybody seeing me going to the job centre when Holden, I was meant to be a professional footballer, I just told them I couldn't deal with.
And it was also hard for some of the lads I played with. I went through the Ipswich Academy with goalkeeper Lee Hullier.
You're talking 20 years ago when it happened to me. Obviously, it's disappointment when you get released, because you don't really know necessarily what you're going to do. And yeah, it was a tough time, to be fair. I played at non-league for a while. Some lads I know dropped out of football altogether. So yeah, it's varying sort of degrees of anxieties, I suppose.
Liverpool and England fullback Trent Alexander-Arnold has recently spoken out about this issue.
You know, I'm one of the very, very fortunate ones that did manage to make it, but there's so many lads that I know personally, being on the same journey from the age of 6, 7 all the way through, and then they get to 16, 18 and decisions are made and they don't quite make it. We sacrifice a lot. We sacrifice a lot coming through, sacrifice a lot of education, our social life. All you know throughout your whole life is football, 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 and then someone comes and wipes it. Anyone who's been through these experiences, please get in touch. I want to talk to you. I want to learn. I want to know what you're going through. I want to be able to help you and do as much as I can.
Hearing what Lee and Ashley went through is tough, but schemes like the one at Palace are trying to change that. Players will have a dedicated care officer for 3 years who will help them to find a new club, education programme or a job. Lee says this will give vital aid to those who've been dropped.
Ipswich with me were very supportive in getting me into a higher education, but that's sort of where it ended. The thing that the Palace are talking about in terms of the 3 years, re-engaging with them over them 3 years, I think it's a great idea, because had that happened to me, I believe maybe I would have still got a job in football. In a different capacity maybe.
Any form of well-being, healthcare, mental stability, training would have helped me, would have helped me understand that my life isn't over, but there was nothing. We speak about aftercare, and not making it as a professional footballer does not have to mean it's the end of your life.
Ambrose goes for it! Oh, what a strike! Palace's top scorer!
I see many players that didn't make it from when I was in the youth team, and it wasn't a known thing back then. It wasn't at the forefront to talk about how they felt. Did it affect them in terms of mental health? The aftercare package that Crystal Palace have brought into play is fantastic. As a kid that's dedicated their whole life to football, to get released and have nothing must be devastating. So for this to have 3 years of help is only brilliant for the kids. And Palace aren't the only club taking care of those who miss out. Here's David Rainford, Head of Education and Academy Player Care for the Premier League.
Liverpool, for instance, have a fantastic alumni network where they've tracked their academy graduates right the way back from from the 90s, and they continue to engage with those, whether that's around education or formalised events or just support. Manchester United have a very bespoke personal development programme for their players, post 16, and each club does it their own way, but there has been that commitment, part of each of regulations and rules. Every club must have a transition and exit strategy.
It'll always be difficult to ease the pain of not making it, but Palace and other clubs are working hard to ensure that there's light at the end of the tunnel for these youngsters.
Former Newcastle and Crystal Palace winger Darren Ambrose there, taking a look at aftercare for players that drop out of the game, particularly in the academy phase. But Dean Ashton, you've got some experience of this in terms of your career not going the way that would have maybe hoped, and in particular ending sooner than you expected it to. How important is aftercare for players? I mean, you were clearly older than a lot of these players, but how important do you think it is?
It's vitally important. I think it's really hit the spot with this news coming out from Crystal Palace, and probably resonated with so many not young players, probably a lot older men and women who maybe their careers haven't gone the way they wanted, maybe they were released because of many different issues. And I think the crucial part as well is this 3 years. Now, I know it'll carry on. It can last a lifetime for a lot of people to miss out on their dream for many different reasons when you're very young. But I think that 3 years feels crucial, because even if you get that care for a year, that might be okay. But it's about hopefully making these young people realise that your life isn't over just because you don't become a footballer. Now, I've learned that, and I was lucky enough to have played, but I've certainly learned there's a lot out there besides just football. There's lots of other different aspects of sports that you could maybe get involved in if that's what you love. But you just don't think that. When you finish, you think, what am I going to do? That's the one thing. What am I going to do now? That's all I'm good at. That's all I know. Well, hopefully this scheme certainly will help a lot of players realise that there's plenty more to come for the rest of their lives, and it shouldn't be this is the end.
Absolutely. And I must tell you, if you've been a young player in an academy, or you're the parent of a young academy player, please listen to our series. Absolutely brilliant. It's called It Was All a Dream, the Football Academy Journey. It's been shortlisted for a Sports Journalism Award this week as well. Troy Townsend, the farmer of Andros, speaking to his son, but also Eberichi Eze at Crystal Palace, the former England international Anita Asante, Arsenal's Ben White, Stephen Colker of ex-Liverpool and Spurs. So many more voices telling you about their journeys through the academy system and hearing from those that missed out as well. Just search It Was All a Dream wherever you get your podcast from. Up next on TalkSport, well, how good is Jared Bowen? We'll find out next.
Game day exclusive on TalkSport with We Buy Any Car. Rated excellent on Trustpilot with over 115,000 reviews.
We've got it at Selco. Selco, it's where the trade goes.
Selco Builders Warehouse, we've got real deals and a wide range of trade quality building products. In February, we've got 2.4 metre lengths of 75 by 50 millimetre CLS studding for only £3.65 ex-VAT. Now that's a real deal. Find even more real deals at Selco Builders Warehouse and online at selcobw.com.
We've got it at Selco. Selco, it's where the trade goes.
VAT charged at 20%.
We all fantasize about our perfect home. Sipping a morning coffee out on the terrace. Good morning, Mr. Squirrel.
Morning.
The kids building a treehouse in the garden.
I'm living my perfect childhood.
But come on, this isn't real. Listen, if you're serious about making your fantasy a reality, find out what your home is worth instantly with a free online valuation estimate. Get real about moving. Get on the market. Most common time to obtain an online quote between 1st of June 2021 and 30th of September 2021 was under 3 minutes. Excludes Northern Ireland.
Hey friend, nothing like a busy day, week, month, last 5 minutes, life to work up an appetite. Makes you want to hit up Just Eat. For your favourite McDonald's, Costa Coffee, Greggs, Zizzi, Starbucks, German Doner Kebab, Creams, KFC, Taco Bell, Subway. No worries, we got it. We got it. We got it.
Did somebody say Just Eat?
Participating stores only. See justeat.co.uk for details.
Get goals in the sun. Get goals in the sun. Goals in the morning. You're reading goals in the morning. We've got goals inside. We've got goals. Sweet goals put out. Bang, bang, bang.
Fans love something to sing about, and you'll find all the games, goals, stats, facts, and more in the Sun's free Goals Pull-Out. Get yours inside the Sun on Sunday tomorrow.
At Betfair, we know how it feels when you're in the moment, in the heat of the match, and you decide to hit cash out. Only to find cash out is suspended and you're frozen out of your bet. That's why when you bet fair on football, you can cash out when you want, with no cash out suspensions on match odds, and now also over or under goal markets, because we're Betfair.
Applies to selected sportsbook markets and the majority of football. Excludes free bets and bet settlement window. T's and C's apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
And he's given it. What on earth is that for?
We can't tell you what the referee was thinking when he made that decision. But with Capital One's Quick Check, we can tell you if you'll be accepted for a credit card before you apply, without affecting your credit score. Quick Check from Capital One. That's credit done right.
Game day exclusive on TalkSport with a Now Sports Day membership. The only way to watch Man City versus Tottenham live today on Sky Sports for $11.99. No contract. Search Now Sports 18 plus. Stream via internet. Terms apply.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. This is TalkSport, powered by fans.
Yeah, Yes, this is Game Day exclusive on TalkSport with Now. Don't forget, with a Now Sports Day membership, you can stream all the Sky Sports action, including Manchester City versus Spurs, live today for just £11.99 without a contract. Search Now Sports, and you can also hear that match live and exclusively on TalkSport as well at 5:30. While we're here for the game between West Ham and Newcastle at the London Stadium, kicks off at 12:30. Right now, though, news headlines with Tom Clayton.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Work is underway to restore power to hundreds of thousands of homes after one of the worst storms to hit the UK in decades. Almost 200,000 homes across the UK still had no electricity this morning. Meanwhile, residents in Yorkshire and Lancashire, particularly those living in the Peak District, have been warned to brace for heavy snow, which could cause travel disruption today. The Met Office has issued a new yellow warning for heavy snow until 3 p.m. in areas surrounding Leeds, Hull, Sheffield and North East Manchester. The Prime Minister has described the ongoing threats of a Russian invasion in Ukraine as a very dangerous moment in history, as he met the Ukrainian president in Munich. World leaders are gathering at a security conference in Germany, portraying a display of Western unity. And Team GB have won a silver medal at the Winter Games in the men's curling. Sweden, their opponents, needed an extra end to take a close match 5-4.
Saturdays redefined.
Game Day exclusive on TalkSport.
Here's superior commentary of 3 supercharged Premier League games.
Football on the radio doesn't come any bigger than this.
And he's gone straight in!
Game Day exclusive on TalkSport.
Yes, this is Game Day exclusive on TalkSport, kicking off another superb Saturday afternoon live at the London Stadium, where every point is vital.
Comes back to Sofal on the edge of the penalty area. Now Bowen with the left-footed effort into the corner, and West Ham are level.
If we can find some form, we're top form in the run-in now, it'll put us in real good stead for where we want to finish this season.
Squares it to Ben Rama, and it's a goal! West Ham have scored 2 goals in 2 minutes.
The important thing is you sort of turn out results for the supporters, and that's the most important thing.
Shelvey around the wall and in! John Joe Shelvey gives Newcastle hope of salvation.
We're well aware of their strengths, and we're going to need another good defensive performance from the team, and I think that is what's given us the clean sheets. It's not been an outstanding effort from any one unit of the team. I think it's been everyone together, collective effort, and I think that's what's impressed me most.
What a wonderful goal from Alan Saint-Maximin.
If you look at what they have done, Newcastle, and where they are, they will stay up.
Newcastle make it 4 wins on the spin as they visit Champions League chasing West Ham live and exclusively here on TalkSport from 12:30. Let's get a recap of the lineups here at the London Stadium, all thanks to Betfair. Your match commentator is Ian Danter.
Thanks, Hugh. 3 changes. West Ham returns for Kurt Zouma, who dropped out in the warm-up at Leicester on Sunday. Fredericks and Ben Rama. Diop, Lanzini and Soufal miss out. Lanzini and Soufal both out the squad with injuries altogether. So Fabianski's in goal. Fredericks, Dawson, Zouma and Cresswell in the back 4. Fredericks first start of the season in the Premier League. Souček and Rice, and then Bowen, Fornals and Ben Rama behind Antonio up front. 3 changes for Newcastle too. Big news, Saint-Maximin picked up a knock in the win against Villa and is not part of the squad this afternoon. Manquillo and Trippier both injured. Kraft and Targett come in for them, and Murphy gets Saint-Maximin's place. So it's Dubravka in goal, Kraft, Cher, Byrne and Targett in the back 4, Willock, Shelvey and Joelinton in midfield, Fraser, Murphy and Wood in attack.
Ian, thank you. Those lineups were brought to you by Betfair, the official betting partner of TalkSport's Premier League coverage. You'll get no cash-out suspensions on match odds and over and under goal markets on football with Betfair. It's 18 plus. Be gambleaware.org. And now the stadium, the London Stadium, filling up very nicely. There is one player who we haven't really mentioned yet who we need to discuss, because with 5 goals in his last 5 Premier League games, West Ham's Jarrod Bowen is simply on fire at the moment. He's climbed up through the lower leagues, and he hasn't just established himself as a genuine Premier League player, but has also put himself in real contention for an international call-up with England. So we asked the man right here alongside me, the former West Ham forward Dean Ashton, to take a look at Jarrod's journey.
West Ham forward Jarrod Bowen has hit new heights this season.
Now Bowen
Bowen with the left-footed effort into the corner, and West Ham are level.
His 12 goals and 11 assists have helped the club maintain a push for top 4 and progress in both the FA Cup and Europa League.
Your eye's drawn to him because he's all action and he
looks fantastic, looks very dynamic, full of confidence, scores goals, makes goals.
I'm looking at the England squad for him. He's carried on his form, it's not a flash in the pan.
But it was humble beginnings for Bowen, who began his career playing non-league football before moving up the leagues. Let's find out a bit more about his journey. After unsuccessful trials at both Aston Villa and Cardiff, Bowen started his career as a scholar at Hereford. He proved an instant hit, breaking into the first team at just 17 years old.
Hi, I'm Pete Beadle. I was a Hereford coach and had my first contact with Jared Bowen back when he was in the youth team. He was just a nice kid, had great football banter. You know, he was honest. He was caring, like I said. So, but he also his workman-like attitude was spot on. It's no surprise to me that West Ham have had an immediate upturn in their fortune since Jared's been there. I'm not saying he's the catalyst for it all, but he's certainly a big point of it all.
Kidderminster Harriers' hearts are broken, and they're broken by Jared Bowen.
Being in the non-league Hereford environment definitely matured me more as a person, because I've been through the tough stages, been through it all, and seen it all at a young age. So I think that stood me in good stead for the future, where things now I just like to think that I take in my stride.
Bowen signed for then Premier League side Hull City, where his career really began to take off. Here's his ex-Tigers teammate, Alex Bruce.
He came up with the first team and he took to it like a duck to water, I have to say, and it's not often that happens when a young lad comes up, catches your eye straight away. Like normally the young lads are the last picks, for the young teams and all the rest of it. But that wasn't the case for Jared. He was integrated into the group very quickly, and he was a reliable player. He was just beyond his years in a lot of ways.
It wasn't all plain sailing for Bowen at Hull, who was part of the side that got relegated from the Premier League in 2017. But looking back, he thinks relegation was a blessing in disguise.
I think the only start in the Premier League I got was, Tottenham last game of the season when we lost 7-1. So that was kind of, a welcoming as well. When we did get relegated, that probably was, again, a bit of luck for me that got relegated, and then I started to play in the Championship week in, week out for 3 years.
Jared Bowen, and he scored! 2-0 to Hull City!
Having racked up 54 goals and 14 assists in just 124 games at Hull, it wasn't long before the forward started to catch the eye of some top Premier League sides. He eventually joined the Hammers in 2019 for around £20 million.
Blasic to Bowen, 1-1. West Ham back on level terms, and it only took them 3 minutes.
Well, I think Jared's improvement in the 2 years just about he's been here has been great. I mean, when you take the players from the lower leagues, you have to give them a bit of time to come up and get used to the Premier League. Jared's near enough started right away and got his goals and assists, but he's taken his game on to another level.
His form for West Ham has got many tipping him for an England call-up in the future. Here's teammate Aaron Cresswell.
Certainly over the last few months, he's been incredible, and you look at his improvements over a short space of time. Yeah, he's been incredible, and you look at his numbers this year. I think he's in double digits for both. It's fantastic, and I don't think there's many English players at the minute even near his level. Yeah, I'd be very surprised if he's not called up in the next squad.
Former West Ham winger Trevor Sinclair thinks it's only a matter of time.
I think he's got to be in the reckoning for Gareth Southgate's next squad. I think he plays with a smile on his face, he plays without fear, he scores goals, he affects games, and he's tenacious in his work rate. And I feel a lot of them attributes are what every fan wants to see in their players, and if there was more players like Jared Bowen, I think fans would be happier up and down the country.
I would be astonished if he's not given an opportunity because of the numbers that he's producing and his all-round performance. I've always felt that there should be a place for form players in the England side, or else what else are you trying to build without giving players an opportunity when they're absolutely on form? I think he would cope perfectly fine. I think he would excel with England. I would absolutely have him in the next squad.
Perfect ball for Bowen, who's in on Schmeichel. Bowen puts it past it.
If Bowen's bright form continues this season, who knows what could be next?
Well, Dino, thank you very much for that. Jared Bowen absolutely on fire. Took his goal against Leicester so well, but he's been directly involved in 8 of West Ham's last 10 goals in all competitions, scoring 7 and 1 assist. Ian Danter, talking about that meteoric rise, you've seen him before he got to the Premier League, and you're not surprised.
Not at all, because when he was playing at Hull, he was actually more of a winger than an attacking, sort of more inside forward that he is here at West Ham. And his goal return was staggering. It was almost 1 in 2 for what was almost a genuine winger at Hull City. First time I saw him, you can just tell sometimes when you see players and think, well, he's attuned to play at a higher level. So I'm not in the least bit surprised that he's adapted as well as he has. And I agree with everything that's been said in that package, like from Trevor Sinclair. If he's not in the next England squad, I mean, as long as he stays injury-free, then it would be a real head-scratcher for me if he's not involved.
Well, he's one of those players the fans here, home and away, will be keeping a close eye on. He could have a big effect on the game. The heavens have opened here in the Olympic Park, so this game should have a lot of zip to it when it kicks off in 15 minutes' time. West Ham versus Newcastle, live on Game Day exclusive on TalkSport with We Buy Any Car, sell your car in 3 simple steps.
Game Day exclusive on TalkSport with a Now Sports Day membership. The only way to watch Man City versus Tottenham live today on Sky Sports for $11.99. No contract. Search Now Sports 18+, stream via internet. Terms apply.
Hey friend, nothing like a busy day, week, month, last 5 minutes, life to work up an appetite. Makes you want to hit up Just Eat for your favourite McDonald's, Costa Coffee, Greg's, Zizi, Starbucks, German Doner Kebab, Creams, KFC, Taco Bell, Subway. No worries, we got it. We got it. We got it.
Did somebody say Just Eat?
Participating stores only. See justeat.co.uk for details.
When you bet fair on football, you get daily rewards. So any day can be a big deal. So whether it's a lower league match day, a top flight derby day, or a Champions League superstar showdown day, get a £5 free bet when you bet £20 worth of multiples or bet builders. Daily rewards. Because we're Betfair.
Max £5 free bet per day. Each bet must have at least one selection of minimum odds of 1.5 or 1 to 2 or more. Free bet valid 24 hours on multiples or bet builders. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
We've got it at Selco. Selco, it's where the trade goes.
At Selco Builders Warehouse, we've got real deals and a wide range of trade-quality building products. In February, we've got 2.4 by 1.2 metre sheets of 11mm Sterling OSB 3 for only £19.99 ex VAT. Now that's a real deal. Find even more real deals at Selco Builders Warehouse and online at selcobw.com.
We've got it at Selco. Selco, it's where the trade goes.
VAT charged at 20%.
Oh, now that's a lovely touch. We can't tell you if it's going to be a 7-goal thriller or a 0-0 bore draw today. But with Capital One's balance transfer guarantee, we can tell you if you'll be able to transfer the amount you need before you apply for a credit card, without affecting your credit score. Oh, nicely done. Balance transfer guarantee from Capital One. That's credit done right.
We all fantasize about our perfect home, watching the big game cozied up in the snug. Balmy summer nights with the kids playing on the lawn.
We're playing real-life football!
But come on, this isn't real. Listen, if you're serious about making your fantasy a reality, find out what your home is worth instantly with a free online valuation estimate. Get real about moving. Get on the market. Most common time to obtain an online quote between 1st of June 2021 and 30th of September 2021 was under 3 minutes. Excludes Northern Ireland.
Get goals in the sun! Get goals in the sun! Goals in the morning! Million goals in the morning! We've got goals inside! We've got goals! Sweet goals pull out! Ba, ba, ba.
Fans love something to sing about, and you'll find all the games, goals, stats, facts, and more in the Sun's free Goals Pull-Out. Get yours inside the Sun on Sunday tomorrow.
Game Day exclusive on TalkSport with We Buy Any Car. They really do buy any make or model of car.
Game Day today.
Arsenal versus Brentford. Coverage from 2:30. Kick-off 3 p.m.
On TalkSport 2.
2-0 to Brighton. It's a back post header from Dan Burn.
And it's the last arrival at Newcastle United. Done and confirmed. Dan Burn has completed his move from Brighton.
He's from Newcastle, he understands it. I think it was great by, Graham Jones, who actually was part of getting
him here. And I think for me to see him understands the area, understands the Premier League as well. Perfect timing, and he's coming there. And yeah, he's been a big leader, big colossal at the back there, and I'm just delighted he's hit the ground running. I think for Newcastle fans as well, they'll appreciate that.
I remember coming here as a kid, and you just wanted the team to work hard, and you would get behind them. That's all you wanted, and I think that's shown now. Since I've come in, it's been really positive around the place. You wouldn't think that we're in the position that we are. Walking out the local hero is definitely a little bit emotional.
Well, Dan Burn is the new towering monument in the northeast. The rumours might be true that he's an inch or so actually taller than the Angel of the North itself, by the way. It's incredible. £13 million for the Ashington-born defender from Brighton. He starts for Newcastle this afternoon as they visit West Ham on TalkSport. Kicks off in 10 minutes' time. The former England striker Dean Ashton alongside me here. How important could this deal in particular, Dan Burn, be for Newcastle's season?
Well, they were absolutely crying out for a centre-back. I think they probably wanted 2, maybe even 3, but Dan Burn has come in. You talked about his size, but actually I think you've got to give him credit for how good he is with the ball at his feet. Obviously that enigma that is the left-footed centre-back will work well alongside Cher or Lascelles or whoever plays alongside him, but he gets it. It's his city. He understands the people, he understands the football club, and just the smile on his face since he's been through the door must be infectious, Dan.
9 years ago, he was on loan at my club, Birmingham, from Fulham, and he was used as a left-back a lot, and at the time he looked raw. I mean, I'd seen milk turn quicker at times because he just didn't have that spatial awareness around him, but my word, how he's developed. And £13 million. There isn't a Birmingham fan who watched him on loan who would say, yeah, he's going to end up going to a Premier League club for £13 million. But that's testament to his determination to learn, train on, get better, and yeah, it is exactly what Newcastle United did. Born in Blythe, what more do you want? A hometown born, a Newcastle fan at the centre of defence. Life must be peachy for him right now.
I, as a Manchester United fan, still have nightmares of the evening he played for Fulham alongside Brede Hangeland and David Moyes, then Manchester United, put in 81 crosses into the box on that evening and couldn't beat Fulham. Tonight, it's David Moyes against Dan Burn in many ways once again. West Ham brilliant at set pieces. Only Liverpool have scored more Premier League goals from corners than them. They've got 9 so far this season. So Dan Burn's going to be pretty important once again, Dean.
He is, and of course with his size he'll be a threat in both boxes, but you're right. I think with West Ham's strength, I think the delivery from both Bowen and Cresswell is outstanding, and I think makes for how dangerous West Ham are from them set plays. So he'll be crucial. Not only that height and willingness to go and head the ball, but I think he needs to be organised. He needs to make sure that Newcastle are set from them set plays, because it will. This game could come down to something like a set play, and they want it to be in their favour rather than West Ham's.
Ian, just talking about the project at Newcastle, there is another recruit from Brighton that's come in, if you like, Dan Ashworth, their new director of football. There are rumours this week that he's going to bring Brighton's academy manager John Morling with him at the club. These roles, how important are they on deciding how quickly Newcastle can make that leap?
Well, it's going to be very different for Eddie Howe, because when he was at Bournemouth he was hands-on with everything, all aspects of recruitment. Now he's obviously in a much different environment. And somebody like Dan Ashworth is actually quite rare, I think, Dean, and Hugh, in terms of football these days, in terms of somebody that knows how the wheels of this daft business work in order to get deals done and interact with clubs like a chief executive does. But there's something about Dan that has endeared him. He did a great job at West Brom. He was with Gareth in the England setup. He's an important cog in the wheel, I think.
Will it be different for Dan Ashworth? Just because of now the fact that everyone knows Newcastle will have money to spend, they are aiming for the very top of the Premier League in many ways in terms of their 5-10 year project. Are people going to reflect a little bit differently in terms of, giving him a player for a decent amount?
Well, that's up to him and his skill then, isn't it?
Yeah.
The powers of persuasion, the powers of negotiation, and how he can, make sure that Newcastle aren't always in a position where they're paying over the odds, because that's all we've heard, isn't it? That any player gets linked with Newcastle United, the price goes up 10 million.
It does, but I just think in terms of the players that have already come in, they're maybe not possibly the star names that maybe everyone thought that they would, when we heard about the rumours of certain players that Newcastle were going to go for. Well, actually, I think they've been quite pragmatic in the players that they've brought in, looking to the here and right now and possible sell-on as well. So I think the business has been good. I don't know whether he's had an effect on that, knowing that he maybe was coming to Newcastle. Who knows? But these roles are vital now, because recruitment is absolutely everything. We can go through the Premier League and see how many players have come in that have not worked at clubs and the money that they've spent. So it's crucial that you spend it wisely.
The fans are now pouring in off the concourses here at the London Stadium and filling up their seats. It is a pretty wet and rainy day. The Newcastle fans are getting covered at the moment, but you know what? They couldn't care a jot. They've made it down to London to see their team on the back of 3 straight Premier League wins. Dean Ashton, do Newcastle need to harness their momentum in terms of the first half here, come out of the traps quickly?
Yes, but I think they'll be organised. I think they'll want to weather what I would expect to be a sort of West Ham storm in the first 20 minutes. Anyone who's played in front of West Ham supporters knows that if you can get an early goal, if you can unsettle the West Ham team, it affects the supporters. You'll hear about it. They will let you know how they feel about any game, no matter what sort of form you're in. And that's going to be crucial for Newcastle to silence these supporters.
They've got to keep control of the game, West Ham, which they haven't managed to do for the length of time during matches that they would have hoped. Certainly not what they were doing towards the start of the season. How do they make sure they can do that?
Well, in so many of the games recently, I don't think many of them have looked that fresh. And I think that is down to the fact that David Moyes keeps a very, very settled side, game in, game out. It's difficult with the demands that the Premier League asks of you physically these days. So I think, again, it's down to mentality coming into this game. Newcastle are on a high, but West Ham have to realise where they are in the table and why they're there and dominate this Newcastle side without Saint-Maximin in there.
Well, the bubbles are blowing here inside the London Stadium. John Joe Shelby leads at Newcastle out onto the pitch, followed by the West Ham captain Declan Rice, 41 on his back as the crowd sing here proudly. It's the beginning of another great day on Game Day exclusive, a 12:30 kickoff between West Ham and Newcastle. At 2:30 it's Game Day Live. The brilliant Adrian Durham at St Mary's. Southampton host Everton with all the goals as they go in up and down the country. We then head north to Manchester for a 5:30 kickoff. Spurs visit the champion City, looking to avoid a 4th straight league defeat. And then there is more live and exclusive sport from Manchester. Amir Khan and Kell Brook into the ring finally right here on TalkSport from 7:30 p.m. What a day we have in store. Remember, TalkSport 2 exclusive commentaries. Fulham versus Huddersfield kicking off in a moment. Arsenal versus Brentford in the Premier League at 3 p.m. Make sure you download the TalkSport app. It is going to be a superb Saturday. I will leave you with your commentary team, the former West Ham and England striker Dean Ashton, and TalkSport's Ian Danton.
The prodigal son of all radio stations is on the air.
Can they make it 2?
TalkSport 2, because sport never stops.
We're sorry, this commentary is not available in your country. Please visit talksport.com/commentaries to hear an alternative stream or listen to TalkSport 2 for even more live sport.
TalkSport has so much sport, we're running out of radio to play it.
In fact, we've got enough rugby, cricket, horse racing, boxing, motor racing and golf for an entire other radio station.
And the thrilling games continue.
The prodigal son of all radio stations is on the air. TalkSport 2, because sport never stops.
There ain't no stopping it now.
Get set for more live sport, more incisive pundit comment and opinion, and more Andrew McKenna.
Thank you very much. That'll do.
Sport radio that hits you for 6. TalkSport 2.
Oh, that's what ball, and he's bowled him. He's dragged it back onto the stumps.
Hard tackling live Super League action.
Strong and hard and made of steel.
Live commentary of the UEFA Champions League.
Champions of Europe again.
Live Aviva Premiership Rugby.
They must surely score.
Golf coverage that's perfectly pitched.
We're not allowed to cry on radio. We're supposed to be tough.
Serving up live ATP Master Series tennis.
And Andy Murray with his head in his hands, goes to congratulate Novak Djokovic.
I'm so happy. Talk Sport 2.
Live international football.
What a goal!
Get in the ring. Go the distance. Talk Sport 2.
And Fury's got it. A unanimous decision.
If you can kick it,
Hit it.
Bowl it.
Pass it.
Hot it. Hot it.
or catch it.
You'll find it right here on Talk Sport 2. The prodigal son of all radio stations is on the air.
Can they make it two?
Talk Sport 2, because sport never stops.
We're sorry, this commentary is not available in your country. Please visit talksport.com/commentaries to hear an alternative stream or listen to TalkSport 2 for even more live sport.
Talk Sport has so much sport, we're running out of radio to play it.
In fact, we've got enough rugby, cricket, horse racing, boxing, motor racing and golf for an entire other radio station.
And the thrilling games continue.
The prodigal son of all radio stations is on the air. Talk Sport 2, because sport never stops.
There ain't no stopping it now.
Get set for more live sport, more incisive pundit comment and opinion, and more Andrew McKenna.
Thank you very much. That'll do.
Sport radio that hits you for 6. Talk Sport 2.
Well, that's what ball and he's bowled him. He's dragged it back onto the stumps.
Hard tackling live. Super League action.
Strong and hard and made of steel.
Live commentary of the UEFA Champions League.
Champions of Europe again.
Live Aviva Premiership Rugby.
They must surely score.
Golf coverage that's perfectly pitched.
We're not allowed to cry on radio. We're supposed to be tough.
Serving up live ATP Master Series tennis.
And Andy Murray, with his head in his hands, goes to congratulate Novak Djokovic.
I'm so happy. Talk Sport 2.
Live international football.
What a goal!
Get in the ring. Go the distance. Talk Sport 2.
And Fury's got it. A unanimous decision.
If you can kick it,
Hit it.
Bowl it.
Pass it.
Hot it. Hot it.
or catch it.
You'll find it right here on Talk Sport 2. The prodigal son of all radio stations is on the air.
Can they make it two?
Talk Sport 2, because sport never stops.
We're sorry, this commentary is not available in your country. Please visit talksport.com/commentaries to hear an alternative stream or listen to TalkSport 2 for even more live sport.
Talk Sport has so much sport, we're running out of radio to play it.
In fact, we've got enough rugby, cricket, horse racing, boxing, motor racing and golf for an entire other radio station.
And the thrilling games continue.
The prodigal son of all radio stations is on the air. Talk Sport 2, because sport never stops.
There ain't no stopping it now.
Get set for more live sport, more incisive pundit comment and opinion, and more Andrew McKenna.
Thank you very much. That'll do.
Sport radio that hits you for 6. Talk Sport 2.
Well, that's what ball and he's bowled him. He's dragged it back onto the stumps.
Hard tackling live. Super League action.
Strong and hard and made of steel.
Live commentary of the UEFA Champions League.
Champions of Europe again.
Live Aviva Premiership Rugby.
They must surely score.
Golf coverage that's perfectly pitched.
We're not allowed to cry on radio. We're supposed to be tough.
Serving up live ATP Master Series tennis.
And Andy Murray, with his head in his hands, goes to congratulate Novak Djokovic.
I'm so happy. Talk Sport 2.
Live international football.
What a goal!
Get in the ring. Go the distance. Talk Sport 2.
And Fury's got it. A unanimous decision.
If you can kick it,
Hit it.
Bowl it.
Pass it.
Hot it. Hot it.
or catch it.
You'll find it right here on Talk Sport 2. The prodigal son of all radio stations is on the air.
Can they make it two?
Talk Sport 2, because sport never stops.
We're sorry, this commentary is not available in your country. Please visit talksport.com/commentaries to hear an alternative stream or listen to TalkSport 2 for even more live sport.
Talk Sport has so much sport, we're running out of radio to play it.
In fact, we've got enough rugby, cricket, horse racing, boxing, motor racing and golf for an entire other radio station.
And the thrilling games continue.
The prodigal son of all radio stations is on the air. Talk Sport 2, because sport never stops.
There ain't no stopping it now.
Get set for more live sport, more incisive pundit comment and opinion, and more Andrew McKenna.
Thank you very much. That'll do.
Sport radio that hits you for 6. Talk Sport 2.
Oh, that's what ball, and he's ball him. He's dragged it back onto the stumps.
Hard tackling live Super League action.
Strong and hard and made of steel.
Live commentary of the UEFA Champions League.
Champions of Europe again.
Live Aviva Premiership Rugby.
They must surely score.
Golf coverage that's perfectly pitched.
We're not allowed to cry on radio. We're supposed to be tough.
Serving up live ATP Masters Series tennis.
And Andy Murray, with his head in his hands, goes to congratulate Novak Djokovic.
I'm so happy. Talk Sport 2.
Live international football.
What a goal!
Get in the ring. Go the distance. Talk Sport 2.
And Fury's got it. A unanimous decision.
If you can kick it, hit it,
Bowl it.
pass it, putt it, pot it, or catch it.
Catch it! You'll find it right here on Talk Sport 2.
The prodigal son of all radio stations is on the air.
Can they make it too?
Talk Sport 2, because sport never stops.
We're sorry, this commentary is not available in your country. Please visit talksport.com/commentaries to hear an alternative stream or listen to TalkSport 2 for even more live sport.
Talk Sport has so much sport, we're running out of radio to play it.
In fact, we've got enough rugby, cricket, horse racing, boxing, motor racing and golf for an entire other radio station.
And the thrilling games continue.
The prodigal son of all radio stations is on the air. Talk Sport 2, because sport never stops.
There ain't no stopping them now.
Get set for more live sport, more incisive pundit comment and opinion, and more Andrew McKenna.
Thank you very much. That'll do.
Sport radio that hits you for 6. Talk Sport 2.
Oh, that's what ball, and he's ball him. He's dragged it back onto the stumps.
Hard tackling live Super League action.
Strong and hard and made of steel.
Live commentary of the UEFA Champions League.
Champions of Europe again.
Live Aviva Premiership Rugby.
They must surely score.
Golf coverage that's perfectly pitched.
We're not allowed to cry on radio. We're supposed to be tough.
Serving up live ATP Masters Series tennis.
And Andy Murray, with his head in his hands, goes to congratulate Novak Djokovic.
I'm so happy. Talk Sport 2.
Live international football.
What a goal!
Get in the ring. Go the distance. Talk Sport 2.
And Fury's got it. A unanimous decision.
If you can kick it, hit it,
Bowl it.
Pass it.
putt it, pot it, or catch it.
Catch it! You'll find it right here on Talk Sport 2.
The prodigal son of all radio stations is on the air.
Can they make it too?
Talk Sport 2, because sport never stops.
We're sorry, this commentary is not available in your country. Please visit talksport.com/commentaries to hear an alternative stream or listen to TalkSport 2 for even more live sport.
Talk Sport has so much sport, we're running out of radio to play it.
In fact, we've got enough rugby, cricket, horse racing, boxing, motor racing and golf for an entire other radio station.
And the thrilling games continue.
The prodigal son of all radio stations is on the air. Talk Sport 2, because sport never stops.
There ain't no stopping them now.
Get set for more live sport, more incisive pundit comment and opinion, and more Andrew McKenna.
Thank you very much. That'll do.
Sport radio that hits you for 6. Talk Sport 2.
Oh, that's what ball, and he's balled him. He's dragged it back onto the stumps.
Hard tackling live Super League action.
Strong and hard and made of steel.
Live commentary of the UEFA Champions League.
Champions of Europe again.
Live Aviva Premiership Rugby.
They must surely score.
Golf coverage that's perfectly pitched.
We're not allowed to cry on radio. We're supposed to be tough.
Serving up live ATP Masters Series tennis.
And Andy Murray, with his head in his hands, goes to congratulate Novak Djokovic.
I'm so happy. Talk Sport 2.
Live Live international football.
What a goal!
Get in the ring. Go the distance. Talk Sport 2.
And Fury's got it. A unanimous decision.
If you can kick it, hit it,
Bowl it.
Pass it.
putt it, pot it, or catch it.
Catch it.
You'll find it right here on Talk Sport 2. The prodigal son of all radio stations is on the air.
Can they make it 2?
Talk Sport 2, because sport never stops.
We're sorry, this commentary is not available in your country. Please visit talksport.com/commentaries to hear an alternative stream or listen to TalkSport 2 for even more live sport.
Talk Sport has so much sport, we're running out of radio to play it. In fact, we've got enough rugby, cricket, horse racing, boxing, motor racing and golf for an entire other radio station.
And the thrilling games continue.
The prodigal son of all radio stations is on the air. Talk Sport 2, because sport never stops.
There ain't no stopping them now.
Get set for more live sport, more incisive pundit comment and opinion, and more Andrew McKenna.
Thank you very much. That'll do.
Sport radio that hits you for 6. Talk Sport 2.
Goal there to a ball, and he's bowled him. He's dragged it back onto the stumps.
Hard tackling live. Super League action.
Strong and hard and made of steel.
Live commentary of the UEFA Champions League.
Champions of Europe again.
Live Aviva Premiership Rugby.
They must surely score.
Golf coverage that's perfectly pitched.
We're not allowed to cry on radio. We're supposed to be tough.
Serving up live ATP Masters Series tennis.
And Andy Murray, with his head in his hands, goes to congratulate Novak Djokovic.
I'm so happy. Talk Sport 2.
Live international football.
What a goal!
Get in the ring. Go the distance. Talk Sport 2.
And Fury's got it. A unanimous decision.
If you can kick it, hit it,
Bowl it.
Pass it.
is on the air.
Can they make it 2?
Talk Sport 2, because sport never stops.
We're sorry, this commentary is not available in your
card yet. Jared Bowen's been body checked by Matt Targett, and half a chance for Joe Linton just on the left side of the penalty area, smashed it curling over the crossbar way wide. It's been a bit reinvented, hasn't he, Joe Linton, by Eddie Howe since he came to the club, and he's been impressive in these opening 19 minutes, and it's West Ham 0, Newcastle 0.
That just on Joel Linton, Dion Dublin, James Collins, that is one of the great reinventions of the season, isn't it, James? He's been turned into this sort of number 8 midfielder.
Yeah, as he's been, and as John said, he's made a tremendous start to this game as well. And to be honest, it's a whole resurgence of this Newcastle team. Like you said, that obviously early on in the season, by far today, this afternoon, Newcastle looked the better team, and that's not just Joel Linton, all of them.
And Ginge as well, because he's been given that bit more time on the ball. He hasn't got really quick feet, Joel Linton. He's in the midfield. He's in a place where he hasn't got a defender like yourself trying to nick it off him. Gives him more time to pick a pass. Yeah, because you'd normally elbow him in the back of the head or go down his Achilles.
There's Bowen! Oh, he struck the top of the bar. Apologies, Dion. It was Bowen just on the right of the 6-yard box. Hit it well, and it just skimmed off the bar.
That was close, by the way. That was very close.
Back to Joel Linton.
Yeah, back to Joe Linton. What I'm trying to say, Ginge, I think you know exactly what I'm trying to say. He's got a bit more time on the ball.
Yeah.
He's not being rushed. He can pick a pass. He's big and strong. And he's making that position look pretty easy.
I'm just saying to John off air, Dion, it's like watching, and credit to Eddie Howe, the way they're playing, they all seem like they've got time on the ball. They're happy to, keep the ball, let West Ham come onto him, and like I said, I've been really impressed. Not with Joel, he's been tremendous so far, but the whole team.
They look fitter.
Listening to Eddie Howe this week as well, he was talking about Joe Linton, and he was saying how surprised he's been, how tactically aware he is. He'll tell him to do something, and straight away he will get it. Tactically, he's been really impressed, and he said defensively he's been surprised how good he is as well.
And they look fitter, don't they? They look so much fitter.
I think from a stats perspective as well, his numbers have shot up. So, going from a centre forward in the Bundesliga to a central midfielder, he's winning like 7-8 tackles a game, which is pretty incredible for a player that you thought was just a centre forward. Take the Everton game as an example. Won 7 out of his 11 tackles. Like, that is great work rate for a central midfielder in the Premier League.
But even when he was in the Bundesliga, though, Dan, I realise I'm treading on your area of expertise here. But even in the Bundesliga, he wasn't necessarily an out-and-out striker, was he?
No, he was more of a link man. He was more of a player that would either play as a centre-forward and come off the line and link, or play behind a striker and play as a second striker. He had a really good game against Manchester City that's always going to stick in my mind, where he basically was unplayable off the line. And it's one of those things where, in this deeper position, I think, like the guys are saying, it's a little bit more time than that centre-forward play. It's not as aggressive. He has that little bit of space to go and can move forward. And I think we will see goals coming into his game as well from central midfielders, getting in some great positions so far against West Ham.
But also, Dion, just for Joel Linton, I mean, the man was kind of let down by Newcastle, really, at the start. I mean, you could argue probably not. They paid 40 million for him and gave him a really healthy salary. But he was signed in between managers.
Yeah.
They didn't have a director of football, and then he was just sort of, there you go to Steve Bruce, our new manager. There's this player we've got. Well, how does that work?
I just think in his early days at Newcastle he looked lost. He really did,
and he became the focal point for the player to be held up as an example of a mismanaged club.
Absolutely. Yeah, because he was up there on his own. He was told to go and play number 9. He just didn't fit the way they were trying to play. His game didn't fit either. And I'm glad that now Eddie Howe's gone. He's got his coaching brain on, and he knows, right, where do I play my players? Where's best for Joel Linton? And he seems to have found a little space for him. And now he's affecting football matches.
By the way, we're talking about this as a full-blooded game. So, James, and I asked this question from a pub footballer, amateur footballer background, just to caveat that.
And that's bigging chappers up. By the way.
Are you talking about me or yourself?
No, I'm most definitely talking about myself, James. Although there was the odd performance I watched of you, but anyhow. So, but whenever I used to go out to a pitch and the weather was like this and it was wet and rainy, you knew you could absolutely thunder in.
It was perfect.
Perfect
for a man who exact pace.
Yeah,
you could at least slide for 5 yards and try and catch up with someone.
And I wonder whether even in this 21st century analytics, modern whatever, but when you've got Chris Wood and Craig Dawson and Antonio and Dan Burn, I just wonder whether there is that element of right, we can properly get stuck in today.
Perfect game for a player like myself and Craig Dawson. Yeah. It's perfect weather.
And we've had that first yellow card, didn't you? It wouldn't be long coming. Ryan Fredericks had it and absolutely bundled into the side of Willock. Nowhere near the ball, got the yellow. Wouldn't surprise me if we finished with 10 on one side this afternoon.
Let's talk about another Premier League new signing who's been brought in to score goals, and a big lad as well, Dion, in Wout Weghorst at Burnley. He's had 8 shots on target already this season, which is the most of any Burnley player, and he only signed on the last day of January. So he's getting in the right places.
Yeah.
He now just needs to put the ball in the back of the net.
And he's linking the play well. He's taking the ball in. He's being reliable. I mentioned about being reliable for centre forward as well. He doesn't mind the physical contact because he's a big lad, gets himself into the box at every opportunity. So, yeah, absolutely perfect for the Premier League. I think he'll get himself a good double figures this season.
Double figures this season?
Yeah, I think he'll get 10.
Wow.
I think he'll get 10 this season.
Wow. He's going to have to get... If he gets 10 this season, Burnley have a good chance of staying
100%, 100%. Because they'll just cross it. They'll cross it for him. They know that's what they bought it for.
Dave's eyes have just popped out of his head.
I kind of agree.
That's down to the vodka and gin and tonic.
No, I kind of agree, because it's looking at the stat that you mentioned there, Martin, the most shots for a Burnley player since he joined, but also you look at the calibre of him as a centre forward. 26 league goals since the start of last season. Like, that is a player that is in confidence and in form. And you look at Chris Wood's goal scoring, as we previously spoke about for Burnley. That was a spell from March till May, where he went on a run of 12 goals in X amount of games, 10 games or so forth. But I think the big thing that he's going to add as well is that link up. That is so important. Not only top of the shots, but he's top of the chances created as well since joining the club. And as a player that's registered 10 league assists since the start of last season, like this, I think we're starting to see Weghorst, and we're starting to respect him more. The cliche of him having a great feet for a big man is one that's kind of really apparent with him. But at the same time, he has that vision. The reverse pass against Manchester United I thought was absolutely fantastic, and that's something that Max Cornet could get on the back end of that. Vidra when he gets fit as well. Pacey forwards that can link with him.
Dave, I just feel that kind of player is perfect for that side. Perfect manager. They don't complicate it. They get into crossing positions. They very rarely come back and try to go out the other side. They get it into crossing positions. They cross it. And if you've got a guy, well, Chris Wood benefited from it, but now Weghorst is there. Yeah, I'm a massive fan of his, and I think he'll do well.
We've watched them a few times together for the match of the day this season, and there's something there with them, isn't there? Yeah. They're a very odd side to watch, because they play some decent... And people might go, Burnley, come on. But, they get forward, they do attack, they're well balanced, they have an attacking threat, whether it's McNeil or Cornet. They've got good midfield, Westwood, but they've got good, solid midfielders. And yet there's just something that isn't clicking. And it's really hard.
It is goals. It's goals. That's what... They defend well. Their midfield is strong. They just cannot finish off all the hard work. And you just look at Burnley, you think about Burnley, you think they're just going to go long. Forward's going to hold it up, midfield are going to get close. They play out from the back if they get a chance. I remember speaking to Sean Dyche, a couple of seasons ago, and he said to me, Dion, if I can play, I'll allow the boys to play. If there's a squeeze that's been set up for us, against us, we'll go long. We just keep it away from our goal as much as possible, and it gives us a chance of scoring goals.
Dave?
Yeah, absolutely spot on. I think, looking at the stats in the background, the shot numbers, they're not amazing this season. And maybe it's a way of finding, some sort of formation or system where they may play a 3-5-2, let's say, Dwight McNeil as a wing-back. We've seen how impactful wing-backs can be, not only at the Euros, but in the Premier League as well. Is that an option? Maybe going to a 3-5-2, having a little bit more control in that central area, but having the likes of, McNeil on one side, Connor Roberts, obviously, has shown since coming to the starting 11 that he's got quality going forward. And I think he was the second top chance creator in the Championship in his last season playing in that division. So is that a method to go, where Burnley continue with the two strikers, they throw in an extra centre-half to give them a little bit of quality there, but they really free up these wing-backs and play Dwight McNeil in that position? I think that could be an angle for them this season. You've got that combination with a Cornet and Weghorst up front. I'd like to see something like that, just a little bit away from the 4-4-2. Catch some big teams out.
He gave a great quote this week to Sean Dyche, which I hope you won't mind me saying is a very Sean Dyche quote as well, which is, it's a very rare job where people actually tell you what you're doing wrong. I don't tell the doctor, the plumber, or the electrician what's wrong. I ask them, but I don't tell them. Burnley fans are good at telling me the positives as well as the negatives, but because people are so involved, it becomes part of your life and part of your responsibility. It's a very good quote, and it is very Sean Dyche.
It is Sean Dyche, and he's very honest with it. I like the way he talks. I've been in his press conferences before, and he likes to have a bit of banter in the press conferences, and he also tells everybody the 100% truth.
Also, I don't tell the doctor what they're doing wrong, but I ask them.
What are you doing wrong?
What are you doing wrong in this diagnosis of me, doctor? Right then, Dion, you're off.
I am. I'm off to final score.
Off to final score. Dion doing final score this afternoon. So if you're in front of a telly and want to watch, then that's the way to get your score service. Still goalless at the London Stadium. Between West Ham and Newcastle. Still Fulham 0, Huddersfield 0. Andy Reid joining us as Dion goes. Look, he's got his Nottingham Forest training top on, haven't you?
Mate, I've just come on the session this morning. Not like you could get up at a time of leisure and have a nice cup of coffee. I've actually been grafting this morning.
Did you put the session on indoors?
No, of course not. That'll be way too easy. Don't make it easy for them, chappers. Come on.
What were you working on with them then?
We've done a defensive phase of play because we've switched and we've been playing 3-4-3 recently, which has gone really well. So just working on defensive phase of play, working on shifting, closing the gaps, getting up when the ball goes forward. All them bits that I wasn't very good at as a player, but I tell them to be good at.
Have they ever come back and gone, Coach, we've Googled you and we watched whether you did this and you didn't?
They wouldn't dare.
Are you working on out of interest? Are you working on 3-4-3 with the under-23s because the first team are playing three at the back? Does Steve Cooper like you to play the same thing all the way through?
Well, he's actually been really good. When he came in, he was very, very respectful when he came in and kind of didn't tell us that we had to do it. But I've seen the way they've been playing and the way they're going about it, and it really, really appealed to me. So I've kind of gone to him and said, come on, Gaffer, we want to link this up a little bit more. It's probably the first time that we've been able to really link it in. So it's been really good, being up and gone through some of the bits that they work on, and we've got the players to suit it at the moment as well. So being able to link it in with the first team has been great, and we've got some really good gains.
Saints have gone further ahead at Hull. Dave?
Yes, 8-0 now. They now lead with 20 minutes played. Tommy Makinson adding to his earlier conversion with the penalty. Really scrappy. It's raining hard here, so that's possibly a reason. Hull have also had Connor Wynne sin bin for a dangerous tackle. It looked like a harsh decision, but Hull are down to 12. It's Hull 0, St Helens 8.
A couple of other games have been postponed in the EFL. These Fleetwood Lincoln has gone in League 1 and Salford against Crawley has gone in League 2. Because of waterlogged pitches. We were talking about Burnley there. They're at Brighton today. Aaron Paul will be at this one for us, but we're going to chat EFL with him. He obviously presents the 72 Plus podcast as well. The game last night called off, actually, Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest, which would have been second against seventh because of Storm Eunice. Fulham in lunchtime action, still being held by Huddersfield. Blackburn, who were in third, could then close the gap on Bournemouth, couldn't they, this afternoon, Aaron?
They could. Good afternoon, Mark. They've got to find some goals first, don't they, Rovers? They're without Ben Brereton Diaz for what time?
I tell you what, Aaron. Aaron, you sound like you're off mic at the moment, so we'll try and get your technicals sorted. And at the moment that he started talking, the deadlock was broken at West Ham. John Southall.
West Ham have taken the lead. It was a free kick on the left-hand side. Cresswell played it in, and where was the Newcastle defence as Craig Dawson snuck in? Nobody went with him, and he bulleted in the header from about 7 yards out. James Collins.
I said it off air, John. The Newcastle line to me looked far too high. Clever run from Craig Dawson, come from deep. Newcastle line sort of not in line. It wasn't a line, and he snuck in and got a free header.
He scored the last minute equaliser at Leicester at the weekend. He's got another, Craig Dawson, and West Ham lead Newcastle probably against the run of play by 0-0.
Just to explain that to us, James, because that's a high line, and then they drop back in. But by the time they're dropping back in, they're they're going backwards to a certain extent,
Exactly.
whilst West Ham are going forward.
It sounds a little bit old school, but why not start in a deeper position? And I don't get the fascination of keeping this high line, because like Craig Dawson, it's clever from him. He knows if there's a high line, if he makes a late run and the ball's right, which 9 times out of 10 it is from Cresswell, he's going to get in. And I don't know. It is a fascination of keeping high lines, and I don't know. I don't see the.
Is it just for offside?
Yeah. But then you've got to rely on everyone not to drop in, and 1 or 2 Newcastle players have dropped in too early and kept Dawson onside. Why not start in there and let the ball come to you?
Home side ahead in the Premier League, and in the Championship, the visitors are ahead. Flo Pollock.
Yep, Huddersfield have taken the lead. It's really been against the run of play. Fulham have had loads of possession, but Huddersfield caught them on the counter. A good goal by Danny Ward. It's Fulham 0, Huddersfield 1.
So, Aaron Paul, are you there? Let's see if we've got you this time.
I am. Is that any better?
Yeah, that is better. Yeah, right, that's good. We should just do one on Huddersfield, who are on this remarkable run.
Ooh, I know. A lot of people talking about Huddersfield going forward, saying they don't score enough goals, but their defence, Mark, is mean. They've conceded 34 in their 33 games, and that's what it's all built upon for Carlos Corberán. A lot of question marks surrounding situation regarding the ownership and the former owner Dean Hoyle and the new owner Phil Hodgkinson, but Carlos Corberán is making good of the situation he's in, and they are flying high, the Terriers.
So we were saying before we went to West Ham, Blackburn have a chance to cut the gap this afternoon, but they are wobbling at the moment.
Yeah, wobbling's an understatement. 4 games, no win, no goals, no nothing from Tony Mowbray's side. They've struggled without Ben Brereton Diaz, with his newfound fame, advertising drinks and playing for Chile. He's become quite the superstar, and he's become quite the jet setter as well. They've had to miss out. He's had to miss out on a few Rovers games because of international call-ups. There's been injuries, fatigue, and now he has this ankle problem, which Tony Mowbray, interesting, he said he hasn't put a period of time on it, but he said it's going to be a period of time. He's not specifically said how many weeks Brereton Diaz is going to be out for, and he is the focal point. 20 goals this season. What more could you ask for from a centre forward? Sam Gallagher's available on the bench. Whether he can push up and take that leading role, who knows? But they don't look like scoring, Blackburn. And today could be another test. Plus, Mark, let's be fair, those teams up the top, no one wants playoffs. No one wants playoffs. They're all messing it up for each other. And it's just becoming more and more enjoyable to watch.
Nottingham Forest, of course, Andy, one of the sides that Blackburn faced in this little wobbly run.
And they got the win. They got the win away, and it was a really good win, to be honest with you. I think Blackburn, a really interesting one. Kind of really got away from playing through the towards and building from the back, which is what Tony Mowbray has always been renowned for. I think he probably looked at his personnel, looked at who was available to him when he got them in, and they've started to go a bit more direct, and it's been really, really successful for them so far this season. But I think every team goes through a wobble at some point. It's just, can you still pick up enough in the meantime to keep yourself in the mix?
QPR wobbling. They're in 4th. They've lost their last 2 of QPR. They have 52. Huddersfield have 50. And then, Aaron, we have Middlesbrough on 49. Chris Wilder's taking them from 14th to 6th.
Absolutely fantastic. We spoke to Neil Taylor this week on the 72 Plus podcast, and it really is sort of like the old guard looking after the new. He was talking about how you've got the likes of Sol Bamba at 36, 37, Lee Peltier's 35, Neil Taylor's 33, looking after a younger group of players that Chris Wilder's looking to bring through. And look, I spoke to Neil and asked him why he joined Borough, and he simply said it's because of Chris Wilder. When a manager of his calibre comes in and wants to do something with a club, you want to go and you want to stick around and you want to be part of it. So he's very much a loved man up the Riverside. And look, if they're going to make a late dash into the playoffs, and that's what they're doing, I fancy them to stick around, because Chris Wilder's been through this before. He knows how to win in the EFL. He knows how to get out of divisions. He's been very, very successful at it, and Borough fans must be looking up.
Although there's always that look of pain on Dave's face that he still hasn't had the call. Still not had the call from Chris.
Yeah. It seems like it's getting, every single time we talk about this, Mark, another week goes by.
I know. Maybe it'll come. Maybe it'll come. It's not rocket science, is it, Andy? Just to mix some of that experience with the young players. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, and it's a great way to develop the young players as well. You know, I'm all for, you know, giving the young lads a chance, and it's brilliant, but you do need experienced heads in there. And I think with the experience that Chris has brought of the division as well, and his man management skills, you can see that they're all kind of really playing for him. It's fresh, it's something a little bit different, and they've been on an absolutely fantastic run. There's so many teams, I think, in and around fighting for that playoff place. There's loads of different styles, but there's not very much between them in terms of the quality, in terms of there's loads of teams that are really grouped together, and which is why it's so difficult to pick who's going to get into it.
Go on, Dave, cheer yourself up with the Craig Dawson stat that you've got.
It's a nice little stat.
It's good, this.
Since making his debut in 2012, Dawson scored more headed goals than any other defender in the Premier League. But also West Ham, you know, Mark, we did speak about corners before. I did watch 56 minutes of Man United corners this week, but I also watched West Ham set pieces, and they were very good this season. Only Man City and Liverpool have scored more goals from set pieces than West Ham United.
Andy's just raised his eyes. If you missed this earlier, he's watched every single Manchester United attacking corner this season, which is depressing viewing, Andy.
I know, I was just about to say, what, did you have a little sleep after for about 2 days?
I think I went into a strange mindset of seeing the same corner taken from the left-hand side, outswinger, they hit the near post over and over again. Really static bodies in the penalty area compared to the separation that West Ham create on set pieces like they did for the free kick. So I've learned something, but I've also lost some 56 minutes of my life.
We focus on the playoff race, Aaron, when looking at the Championship. Arguably the biggest game of the day comes at the bottom, doesn't it, at Pride Park?
Yeah, absolutely. Where Derby take on Peterborough, 22nd playing 23rd. Nearly lost my notes there. I mean, Eunice is causing all sorts of problems on the south coast. Believe me, there's wind, there's hail, it's everywhere. But yeah, 22nd taking on 23rd. I mean, look, we can focus on Peterborough and Derby, but the club just above them, Reading, they must be looking behind them. It's like wacky races. They're looking behind them, looking at who's in the rear view mirror, because Reading are in all sorts of trouble. If Peterborough win today and Reading don't, they will climb above them and out of the relegation zone. But they've got to win.
They're not making a change though, are they, Reading? They haven't made that change yet.
Mark,
they're at Preston.
This is a funny one. I mean, let me just tell you what happened over the weekend. Sunday night, national newspapers and another radio station basically started reporting that Veljko Paunovic was about to be sacked. I'm pretty lucky. I'm not going to boast, but I've got some pals on the coaching team Monday, and they said, no, nothing of the sort. It's not happening. Everything's been done as normal. We've taken training, and they're not going to sack us before the Peterborough game. Now, there were also rumours that Veljko Paunovic had handed in his resignation a couple of weeks ago. That was rejected by the club's board. From what I understand, they can't remove him until the end of his contract because of FFP and financial regulations that have basically got Derby and Birmingham in trouble as well. So, it's a tough one. But they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, Reading, and they really are sinking to rock bottom. I was talking to Joby McAnuff about it the other day, of course, an ex-Reading player. And he talks about the good old days under Sir John Medeski, where, the club was run well, they were buying well, they were buying under the Reading way, effectively. They were buying young players to go and nurture and then sell on. And they did so very, very well during those early years in the Premier League. But under this new investment, this new owner who is seemingly being led by a super agent, they are just scattergun in everything they do. And the future's not bright for the Royals.
We're just going to go back to Hull, where it has just got even worse for the home side. I'm just watching a replay, Dave Woods, of exactly what Luke Gale has done.
Well, he's been sent off. It is, by the way, Hull 0, Saints 14. Josh Sims scoring a second try for Saints and Makinson kicking the goal. But it seemed quite innocuous. It was a kick downfield from St Helens' Johnny Lomax. It bounced out of play. Everyone was ready for the tap restart. The referee stopped the clock because Lomax quite clearly needed treatment. And then he hesitated and allowed the video referee, obviously, to start making judgments. he was wandering around the field listening to the conversation from the video referee, and then the video referee decided that Luke Gale had stamped or tripped or certainly led with a boot. I think in football that might have been a sending off because he seemed to get the ankle of Johnny Lomax, and so Luke Gale is sent off. And in this first 2 weeks of Super League, sendings off have been very much a theme, usually about the head high, not about ankle high. But it's Holder down to 12 men. Saints lead 14-0. You can only see one winner, even at this stage of the game.
Absolutely. Sports Extra if you want to listen to that. Before we do League One and League Two, let's get an update from West Ham. John Southall.
West Ham still lead Newcastle by that 1-0. We've got about 2 minutes to play before half-time. We just saw a moment for Jared Bowen. Actually, here come Newcastle again. Good challenge, goes out for a corner kick. This will probably be the last action of the half. Jared Bowen on his left foot, on the right of the area, just where he likes it. But Dubravka went down at his near post to save. So as we approach half-time, West Ham lead Newcastle by that 0-0.
OK, so our base from 3 o'clock is Anfield when it's Liverpool against Norwich. There are 6 Premier League games at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Also Palace, Chelsea, Arsenal against Brentford, Brighton, Burnley, where Aaron is. Southampton are at home to Everton, and Villa are taking on Watford. The tea time game, Manchester City against Tottenham, and match of the day 10:30 tonight on BBC One, with Alan Shearer and Ian Wright alongside Gary Lineker. And then on Premier League Sunday tomorrow, Manchester United, Leeds and Wolves against Leicester. Penalty at Craven Cottage. Flo Pollock.
Yep, it's a penalty for Huddersfield, a chance for them to double their lead. The ball is on the spot. It's Duane Holmes standing over this. Marek Rodak in goal. Duane Holmes takes up. Marek Rodak gets a touch to it, but it hits the back of the net anyway, and Huddersfield double their lead just before the break. It's Fulham 0, Huddersfield 2.
There'll be some story, Aaron, that, won't it?
Oh, absolutely. This is the Championship, the EFL at its best, Mark. It's just chucking up results, conjuring them up when you least expect it.
Let's go into League One. Finished 1-1 between Rotherham and Wigan last night. Rotherham keeping their 6-point lead. Wigan have 2 games in hand. First against second last night, third against fourth this afternoon, Aaron, with MK Dons travelling to Sunderland.
Tasty is what I call this one, because it's Alex Neil. It's been his second week in charge, his first full week in charge at Sunderland. I watched him last week at Wimbledon. They weren't very good. Let's just say that for a team that don't score many goals, Wimbledon certainly were attacking them. And but for the goalkeeper, the Wombles could have picked up all 3 points. And Alex Neil, you just look at him and you wonder what project he's taken on. This week there's been talks about the ownership where Kiri Louis-Dreyfus, the son of the former Marseille owner, who of course took over the club last year, has basically come out and said that he's not the majority shareholder. And it's just very, very weird. Alex Neil's responded. He said that Louis Dreyfus is the only one he's ever spoken to as an owner. It's just a bit of a mess again.
Let's go straight. Sorry, I'm just going to jump in. I'm jumping in because Sunderland fans won't like this either. John Southall.
Newcastle have their equaliser and their deserved equaliser. West Ham 1, Newcastle 1. Joe Willock almost on the byline on the left-hand side, squeezed the ball over the line. The goalkeeper scrambled back, Fabianski, and tried to retrieve it, but the referee has given it, and Newcastle United have their equaliser, James Collins, but it was poor defending.
Fully deserved. Great play down the left. Something you're not expecting from West Ham. Sloppy. Declan Rice, he doesn't seem to be at the races today. I think that it seems like he's got a free header from the cross in, and he's just missed the ball. It's come off his shoulder. It's a clever finish, and nothing Newcastle don't deserve.
It's a lovely finish, actually. Just watching it again with the outside of his boot, just flicked it across the goalkeeper. It crept over
what Declan
the line.
Rice has done there. I think he's just generally missed the ball. It's come off his shoulder.
He's headed it backwards into his path, hasn't he? And he's done one with Willock. And in the first minute of added time at the end of the half, Newcastle have their deserved equaliser, and their fans who've made that 6-hour trip up at 5 this morning, well, they're all celebrating. West Ham 1, Newcastle 1.
It's as if, James, he's tried to head the ball too hard.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly, Travis. You bang on there. He's tried to really get it. All he's got to do is make contact. Like you say, he's gone to head it too hard and completely missed the ball. And I think the seams has come off his shoulder and dropped to the Newcastle.
That left side and that inside left channel has brought Newcastle quite a lot of joy, hasn't it, in this first half?
It has, and like I said, it's deserved it, to be honest. Newcastle have been the better team. West Ham have sort of Newcastle have kept the ball and West Ham have sat off them, and like I said, they deserve it all over the pitch. You know, they've been the better team.
And there's the half-time whistle. West Ham 1, Newcastle 1. They've had 61% of the possession in this first half. They've had 10 shots on target, and right at the end they got their reward with Joe Willock on the left of the penalty area, or the 6-yard box, should I say, just flicked it across the goalkeeper, crept over the line, and the equalising goal. West Ham took the lead just after the half-hour mark. Free kick by Cresswell on the left. Craig Dawson, really good run, poor defending from Newcastle, and he headed in 7 yards out. It's been a really good half, and at half-time, West Ham 1, Newcastle 1.
Thanks, John. They're still playing at Craven Cottage, where Huddersfield lead Fulham by 2-0. Just back to this game in League One between Sunderland and MK Dons, Aaron Paul. We've talked a lot about League One clubs and Rotherham and Wigan and Sunderland and Ipswich and Sheffield Wednesday and Oxford and Charlton and all the so-called big ones. I don't think we've ever this season had a discussion about MK Dons, who are third and managed by Liam Manning, who, with all due respect to Liam, not many people will know about. He is not a name, is he?
He's not, but he's
exactly
very well respected coach, Mark. And this is the thing. I spoke to a head coach last week, and he said that one of the most underrated things in football is coaching, to get a good coach indoors, and he proved it. He was at Ipswich, he was at West Ham, and then he joined the City football group, went out to Lommel in Belgium, and he took a club that was really languishing down the bottom of the league to I think it was third or fourth up the top of the Belgian First Division, and then he's got this job over at MK, and he walked into a difficult situation with Russell Martin having walked to go to Swansea City, but you know, under their technical director, they've got this idea of playing a certain brand of football. They want to buy young, they want to nurture players, coach them and sell them on for a profit, and he's doing just that, and they're playing good football, Liam Manning's side, and again today it's going to be a very, very tough ask for Sunderland.
He's doing a good job, isn't he, Andy Reid?
Yeah, no, he's doing a very good job, I have to say, and I think the point that Aaron made there, I think, is the most important point. It's the style of play. I think MK Dons recruit coaches to implement their style of play. They've done it for quite a few years now, probably going back to when Carl Robinson was there. So he's gone in and he's kind of took on the good work that Russell Martin done last year, and they play some really, really good football. But I think probably what they're adding this season that they haven't added, that they didn't have last season, is probably that bit more of a cutting edge over the last 2 to 3 months, and that's what's got them up there at the tour. Because I think what was levelled at them a little bit last season was they play some really good football through the tours, but then when they get to that final tour they lack a bit of cutting edge, and they look like they're starting to get that now.
Thank you, Andy, for the moment. Thank you, Aaron, as well. League Two, just a couple of the stories here. The leaders, Forest Green Rovers, are at home to Walsall. Exeter in third are at home to Barrow. Tranmere in second at home to Port Vale. And Bradford, who are looking for another manager now. Derek Adams parted company with the club on Tuesday. He'd won just 9 of 37 games. They are at Oldham, who are unbeaten under John Sheridan. They've won 2 and drawn 2 and are looking to get out of those relegation places. All the goals as they go in throughout the course of the afternoon with Ian Dennis. Our base is Anfield for Liverpool against Norwich. Let's go to the Winter Olympics. Great Britain getting their first medal of the Games earlier. The men's curling team took silver after being beaten 5-4 by Sweden in the final. It went to an extra end as well. The team skip Bruce Moat and Hammy McMillan are live in Beijing. I can see you on a screen in front of me, guys, shivering in the dark with some lit trees behind you. So thank you for being patient. Thank you for talking to us.
No worries.
Look, it's always the horrendous question at the start, and there's no other way to start it, which is, Bruce, how do you feel?
I think every kind of hour that's passing, we're starting to feel a bit better about it. We obviously wish that we got the other medal, but to just get a medal, full stop, we're very happy with that.
I was going to say, you spoke to Steve Cram as a team afterwards. You were disappointed. Has time made you feel a bit prouder of your achievements?
Yeah, absolutely. As Bruce said, we gave it our all today. We felt like we bounced back after that first loss to the USA, and played a really high performance right way through the whole week into the semis, and then even today, Nicholas and the Swedish boys brought their A game. So no, we came off the ice, we were absolutely gutted, but no, to be standing here now with Team GB's first medal, we're absolutely buzzing.
And Hammy, have you spoken to friends and family back home?
No, I phoned my mum. I spoke to my dad on the screen after the game for the family and friends. But no, not really. The phone's been going absolutely nuts. I'm not going to lie. But no, we whisked away. We've had media. We've been doing lots of that. So hopefully tonight I'll get a chance to look at the phone and speak to the boys and send some messages back.
Hope the BOA pay your roaming charges if you phone. Bruce, how were your nerves? Because the pressure is on the skip with the final stone. Final stone in normal time to take it to an extra end, and then in that extra end, how were your nerves?
I think they're definitely a bit shot. Just the entire week, and even like the mixed doubles I was playing before with Jen, just the whole time I've just been shaken. But I was just very happy to have the three guys that I have before me, and they always support me and have my back. So I was wanting to do it for them and obviously for myself as well. But
can you prepare for those nerve-wracking moments?
No, we can't. We have a lot of experience at World Championships and Europeans, but I'm going to be honest and say that the Olympics is definitely something a lot harder than those events that we've had before. But, I'm very proud of how we done, and to get a medal now, it feels really good.
How's the overall experience been of a Beijing Winter Olympics, Hammy?
It's been absolutely amazing. The village is amazing. It's just been so good. And the support back home, it's honestly, words can't describe how good it's been. We wouldn't be able to do this without thanks to our family and friends. The national lottery, everyone who plays the national lottery back home allows us to come out here and compete in the highest stage and win medals for Team GB. So it's thanks to them and everybody back home. This medal's for them as well.
And back to the rink later to watch the women. We're still waiting for a time there. We were discussing this earlier on the show. The time might change. It's not something for you to worry about. That's what we've just been told. But you'll be back there to support the women later, Bruce.
Yeah, we will. I think they're playing tomorrow morning our time, so hopefully it's pushed back a wee bit later so we get a bit longer in our beds. But I don't really mind. I'll get up and I'll go in and watch and cheer as loud as they were for us.
Can you celebrate now?
Yes.
Good. Good.
We'll hopefully try and celebrate tonight. Certainly, I know Bruce said it. Like each hour that goes past, it's getting a lot easier, and we're getting a lot happier. But we'll definitely celebrate tonight.
Well, congratulations. Those medals look great round your neck. They're big, aren't they? They're big, chunky things, those medals.
They are. They're heavy as well.
Yeah. Right, go and celebrate. Enjoy watching the women tomorrow. Go and get warm as well. Thank you for talking to us. Congratulations, both of you.
Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Team Skip, Bruce Mowat and Hammy McMillan live from Beijing, winning Britain's first medal of these Winter Olympics with a silver in the men's curling. Half-time at Craven Cottage. Flo.
At the break, league leaders Fulham trail by 2-0 against Huddersfield. A really impressive first half from Huddersfield. They were defensively very solid, and 2 goals to boot as well. Danny Ward opened the scoring after the ball fell kindly for him in the box. He volleyed it through the legs of Marek Rodak. Huddersfield then got a penalty when Sorba Thomas was brought down by Rodak. Duane Holmes dispatched that penalty emphatically. Fulham with it all to do in the second half. At the break, it's Fulham 0, Huddersfield 2.
Half-time at Hull, Dave Woods.
Hull 0, St Helens 20. Not a classic, but St Helens very good at taking their chances when they appear. Mark Percival after 9 minutes forcing his way over. Josh Sim, the winger, twice finishing some from excellent Jack Wellesby passes. But Hull, for the most part of that first half, have been down to 12 men. They had Connor Wynne sin-binned in the 17th minute for a dangerous tackle. Looked a little harsh, and not long after he got back on, Luke Gale sent off for leading with the foot after Johnny Lomax had kicked through, and he caught Johnny Lomax around the ankle as well. It was a straight red card for Luke Gale. So Hull really up against it. Hull 0, St Helens 20.
So Fulham 0, Huddersfield 2 at half-time in the Championship. West Ham 1, Newcastle 1, half-time in the Premier League. We'll be back at the London Stadium shortly. 1:28. Here's Jill McKenzie.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Boris Johnson has warned that if Ukraine is invaded by Russia, the shock will echo around the world. Speaking at the Munich Security Conference, the Prime Minister said he doesn't know what Russia intends, but omens are grim.
I believe that in preparing to invade Ukraine, a proud country whose armed forces now exceed 200,000 personnel, considerably more expert in combat today than in 2014, President Putin and his circle are gravely miscalculating. I fear that a lightning war would be followed by a long and hideous period of reprisals and revenge and insurgency.
Russia has repeatedly denied that it has plans to invade Ukraine and accused the West of hysteria. Some rail services in the south and west of England are still disrupted and thousands of homes without power after Storm Eunice, but the port of Dover has now reopened. And a senior official at the World Health Organization says it would be very unwise to end the COVID self-isolation rules. The government's considering changing the requirement for people to stay at home in England from next week.
People have an idea of what hip-hop is. I'm trying to convert you.
Romesh Ranganathan.
Consider this like the hip-hop lounge. You open the door, you're slightly nervous, but I say, hey, come and sit down. I'll play a few tunes. I've got a lovely array of vegan snacks. And we'll take a little deep dive into the world that I like to call hip-hop. Well, that's what everyone calls it, not just me.
You can do it, put your back into it. Romesh Ranganathan, for the love of hip-hop.
Here to play you my favourite hip-hop of all time. How was that, Trevor?
Yeah, that was real.
This guy.
Passion, energy. Let Romesh bring the energy.
Listen now on the BBC Sounds app.
This is 5 Live Sport with Mark Chapman.
Big old fight tonight, Kell Brook against Amir Khan. You can follow it all on the BBC Sport website. Steve Bunce has joined us to talk about it. Although, first of all, in your podcast, in your Extraordinary Tales podcast, one of your latest ones is the Stone of Destiny. I'm assuming that's curling, is it?
It is curling, chappers, and I've just been listening to you holding down skip, final stone, and extra end. You did sound like you were loving it, my friend. No, that was Rona Martin, 2002, when I was covering that Olympics for 11 newspapers and 5 radio stations, 4 TV stations. Trust me, I was broadcasting to the ISS. That was the Stone of Destiny, Rona Martin. In fact, it's really odd. I just listened to that about half an hour ago, and like a silly old fool, I was crying listening to my own podcast about the Stone of Destiny. It was that moving. I had to turn it off.
You don't strike me as the kind of person that would normally listen to yourself.
No, I don't. I tell you why I listen to it, because I got a note from someone saying, and it's someone I really trust and someone you know, and he said, Bunsey, I've just listened to Stone of Destiny. It's the best thing you've ever done. Well, I've been doing things for 35 years, and this guy's known me for 35 years, so if he tells me it's the best thing I've ever done, first of all I was laughing, and then I was crying. Hey-ho.
Got one of my closest friends who said to me the other day, I really like the Monday Night Club. How long have you been doing that? I went, 10 years. So, by the way, we've just heard that the women's curling final is at 1:05. So 1:05 tomorrow morning, Britain's women against Japan in the final, going for gold. Let's talk about the boxing then. Kell Brook and Amir Khan, as I say, you can follow it on the BBC Sport website tonight. There's been a very horrible atmosphere, hasn't there, in the build-up to this?
Yeah, there's been a horrible atmosphere for about 10 years since these two were first pitched together and it was first suggested. But I've been up here in Manchester a couple of days this week at the open sessions and the head-to-head, and I was backstage with the pair of them, and I can assure you, chappers, and I'm not hyping it, I've got no reason to. It's quite unpleasant. It's quite nasty. Some of the things they've said have been particularly unpleasant, but it's just a general hate. When they're separated by six feet and about five or six fellas, you can sense it. I don't know if I've ever sensed that genuine animosity ever before. And as I say, I'm being genuine. It's quite unpleasant.
It is. What are you expecting from this tonight? Both are 35, aren't they?
Both are 35, and between them they've had an awful lot of fights. 81 fights. Of those 81, at least 50 have been main events on TV. 16 world title fights between them. And I'm telling you this, I'm going to be honest with you, their best days were 5, 6 and 7 years ago. What we're going to see tonight is we're going to see two extremely brave men fighting with too much pride, pushing themselves, G'd on by 19,000 people who snapped up every one of the tickets in 6 minutes. I think it could be ugly. It'll be memorable and ugly. And the best fights, I'm going to tell you the truth. The best fights are always the ones that have got something that makes you look through your fingers, but the fact that you're actually there tells you want to be there anyway. And this has got all the ingredients to be a very, very hard night.
Is the danger for both of them that they fight with their hearts and not their heads?
Absolutely. After about 1 or 2 rounds, assuming it goes that long, everything they've learned over the last however many years, 25 years in gyms. These guys walked into gyms when they were 8 and 9 years of age. One in Bury, one in Sheffield. Everything they've learned, everything they've acquired, all of the skills, all of the training camps, all of the tactics are going to go out the window. It's going to come down to one very simple thing. And it is not like normal fights. It's going to come down to who has the most left. It's really that simple, because at some point, probably after about round 4, one of these 35-year-olds is suddenly going to age overnight. But until then, chappers, I can tell you, listen, it's a brutal business. I never try and soft sell it to you. It's going to be harsh, it's going to be brutal, and it's going to be unmissable.
Too close to call for you?
Yeah, listen, I tell you what, I fancy Khan just a bit more than I fancy Brooke, but I'm gonna stick an asterisk next to that. Call me after 10 seconds of the first round, and I'll give you the winner.
All right. Now, all the goals as they go in from 3, Bunsey, 6 Premier League games. Ian Dennis in position at Anfield. Are you going to listen to that, or are you listening to more of your own podcast?
No, listen, leave off. I only listened to one. Don't get carried away. I'm going to listen to that because Arsenal got one of those rarest of things, a Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff, for God's sake.
Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, all involved in Saturday 3 o'clock. Right, top stuff. Cheers, Steve. See you later. Steve Bonds.
Thanks, chappers.
Yeah, Brooke Khan on the BBC Sport website. Later, back underway at the London Stadium. John Southall.
Just kicked off in the second half. West Ham 1, Newcastle 1. Newcastle with that late equaliser in the first half from Joe Willock. There's been a change. West Ham have taken Ryan Fredericks off, and Ben Johnson has come on at right back, and James Collins. That is not a massive surprise, the substitution.
No, not at all. Like Fredericks was struggling at right back. You know, Newcastle got in on numerous occasions, and obviously the goals come from there. So, it's not a surprise.
They've started off in a similar vein to the way they started the first half. Newcastle on the front foot, and West Ham just roll it out of their own penalty area, and they go on the counter. West Ham 1, Newcastle 0.
Well, do you think... No, Newcastle 1.
1. Yeah. Have they scored?
I know you are always attracted to the nil, John, but they have scored. Is that West Ham dressing room the type of dressing room, James, that will shout at each other after a first half like that, whereas you say that they were a bit off it at times?
Yeah, I'd say so. The big characters in there. Obviously, Mark Noble's not playing, but I'm sure he'd have 1 or 2 things to say. They're obviously, it's not the West Ham that we've come to expect in recent years. And like I said, they have been stuttering in the last 3-4 games. And sorry, John.
Yeah, Mark, we were just saying at half-time, actually, as the corner comes over, here is Declan Rice on the back post, pulls it back, first-time shot, takes a few deflections and ricochets across the 6-yard area. It's still in play, actually, with Bowen on his left foot. He'll fancy running at the defender, whips it in with that left foot, looking for Antonio on the far post, but it's cleared away. But we were just talking at half-time, and it's rare that you see Declan Rice have a below-par performance, and also Thomas Souček as well. I think for the last 3 or 4 games, he hasn't looked at his best. But I think one of the problems is that those 2 players have played so much football, and there isn't really a replacement to put in for either of them.
Oh, great goal.
Still 1-1 there then. James Collins alongside John Southall, and we'll talk about the tea time game next with James and Andy Reid and Statman Dave. Manchester City against Tottenham. Let's focus on the visitors. Is Antonio Conte complaining too much, Andy?
I think he always complains, doesn't he? I mean, even when he was at Chelsea, and they were going on to win the league, he was still always had a little bit of a complaint in him. So I think that's just generally what it is. And I think if anybody expected anything else, then they were wrong. I just hope from a Tottenham perspective it doesn't get kind of too much where he's constantly on at the club, and then the club feel then they have to do something, and it ends up kind of being at each other all the time, because that's not harmonious. You know that he's a confrontational kind of guy, so he's always going to speak his mind. So when you bring somebody like that into a football club, you're going to have to kind of pick up the pieces from some of the interviews that he does. I think the problem that you've got with Tottenham and the team at the moment is that everything that he's saying is right. I think they are short of players to compete at the top end of the table. They're short of They're probably not short in the attacking areas, but probably more on the defensive side of it. He would like a little bit more solidity in there.
Andy, Chavez, Andy, as a player, talking about myself, I wouldn't like me... Bowen.
Oh, Bowen's just trying to turn on the penalty spot, tries to feed it through to Antonio, but there's an injured Newcastle player down and the referee's calling the trainer on.
I wouldn't be too happy going back to Conte as a player in coming out in the press all the time and sort of digging the players out, hammering the players. I think some of it needs to be kept back a little bit.
Yeah, but again, I think he's always been like that, and you know that you kind of get you get that with him. I totally get you, and I think players nowadays, I think you would like players to kind of stand up and go, well, listen, I'm going to show him, as opposed to going, what's the gaffer slagging me out for? He's obviously not doing, he's doing it to try and get a reaction for them one way or the other. He's obviously trying to kind of, give them a kick up the backside and trying to get them into a little bit more. But I think with young players, especially nowadays, they don't really respond that well. I don't think they respond as well to that kind of heavy criticism as what maybe players in the past have done.
When you say they're a bit short, or he thinks they're a bit short, is that short in quality or short in numbers? Because I can't quite work it out at the moment. He said this week the club did the best it could during the transfer window. We lost 4 important players for Tottenham. When you lose 4 players and sign 2 players, it means 20 players is now down to 18. So numerically, you can be a bit weaker. But with the new signings, we are more complete as a squad. I can't work out whether they're short, whether they're more complete, whether they're weaker. What are they?
What I think he's saying is that they're lower in numbers, but they've added a bit of quality maybe that he wants, but he wants more quality to add to it. So, what he'd probably try and do is get that other couple of players in to top it back up to that 20 again. But then players that have come in, have to be of a better quality than what was already there. Otherwise, you've been as well keeping the players that were there. So he's looking to improve the quality of the squad, I think, more than anything.
I don't think you can. You're saying about that he needs more quality, but he's also said he's let 4 quality players go. So why let the 4 quality players go?
Yeah, the message is just
there's different circumstances,
right.
though. I mean, if you look at you look at Dele Alli, for instance, I mean, it was, I think it was probably clear to everybody that he'd run his course there. That's not to say that he's not a good player. He hasn't really performed over the last kind of couple of years to the levels that he can do. But for me, it's circumstances as well of certain players. I don't think it's just as simple as saying, right, we'll get rid of him because he is quality. But how is he getting on at the club? What type of run is he on? Is he fitting into the style of play? And sometimes certain players don't fit into the style of play. You look at Dele Alli, how he goes about it. He's not really all action, high intensity like a Conte team somebody in a Conte team would expect.
I think from a side of looking at the signings as well, Conte traditionally likes those sort of older players, 27, 28, 29 players that he can kind of mould slightly, and then they'll run his system, they'll press at the right time. I think Bentancur and Kulusevski are brilliant signings, but you look at Kulusevski, 21 years old, Bentancur's 24. Is that the right demographic for Conte? It's the right demographic for Spurs because those players are for the future. But I think that might be something that he's sort of talking about as well. You think, Dele Alli 25, Ndombele 25, a little bit further down the line, but they didn't work. So it is really confusing. But just going to Spurs, I think the 3-5-2 looks a bit better for Tottenham right now. You think that was the formation they played again in the 2-2 draw with Liverpool?
Blimey, Dave, it didn't last week against Wolves.
They've lost 3 on the bounce.
Crikey,
but
it looked awful.
That was more of a 3-4-3. Right, and I think that midfield coverage is really important for them, that helps them in these bigger games. But I also think it helped them from a possession perspective. Kulusevski played some of his best football for Parma, playing as a right-sided central midfielder in Serie A, and played that role really well, getting into a creative area inside right channel. And I feel like that potentially could be what Conte tries. I don't think moving away from the back 3 would suit Antonio Conte. That is just what he's done traditionally over his career. But I would take something from that Liverpool game, because I think that was one of their best performances, and it came in the 3-5-2. So, moving forward with Bentancur, maybe Højbjerg and Kulusevski in that central area could work. But I kind of agree with Conte in a sense is they needed a right wing back. They didn't buy one.
But the stat that we've talked about all week, Andy, is that when they don't start Dyer, Højbjerg and Skip, then that's where the problems come. They start Dyer, Højbjerg and Skip, and they haven't conceded a goal when those three have started.
Yeah, you're talking about players that are, that would be the spine of the team. They would be making it really, really secure in the central area. I think it's a point that's worth discussing, the difference between the 3-4-3 and the 3-5-2. In the 3-4-3, if you don't have midfielders who really, really cover so much ground and almost cover the ground of an extra player in there, you can really get outplayed because they've got an extra man. What you bring when you've got 3-5-2 is you bring a bit more solidity in the middle of the park, so you probably look a little bit more secure, but then you give a little bit in them forward wide areas if your wing backs aren't really attacking. So I think there's a bit of tinkering going on there. He's looking at who suits the formation, who can really fit into what they're trying to do. But as he's doing that, he needs to find a way to get results, because it's all right tinkering and changing and doing all the bits, but you're in the Premier League. You're talking about a club that's in the top half, trying to be pushing towards the top four. They need to be picking out results as they go along.
And what they don't have, James, when they don't have Dyer at the moment, and Dyer has been criticised many times in the past by Tottenham fans, but when they don't have Dyer as in the back three, they seem to lose some organisation.
They do, for sure. And like he's had some criticism over his time, but that's what he brings. I'm not sure he's a natural centre half, but he certainly brings leadership and an organisation, which it's plain to see they've been lacking certainly in the last 3 games.
I'm just going to go to the Super League because having lived in Hull for a few years, Dave Woods, I know when it looks cold.
It doesn't just look cold, Chaffers. It is cold. It's the snow is absolutely pouring down. I just saying to Claire, the producer, it's like those things as a kid when you'd shake them.
Yes, you're in a rugby league snow globe.
Yes, absolutely. It's terrific. It's still 20-0 for Saints. It's not a classic game, this, at all. They just started the second half, and a 20-point gap could be very useful for Saints given the conditions at the moment. You can't see a lot of tries being scored here, and of course Hull are down to 12 men.
I tell you what though, Dave, if you're in that Hull team, you're down to 12 men, you're 20-0 down against the champions in the snow and the freezing cold. It's like you must be wanting that final hooter.
Oh, they're made of tougher stuff than that, Joe. They're mentally stronger than you and I. They'll be relishing it. Especially the Aussies out there.
Sports Extra, if you want to listen to that. Huddersfield still 2-0 up at Fulham in the Championship, still 1-1 at the London Stadium. On Manchester City, Statman, what else is there to say at the moment?
Statistically, they are basically incredible. You're looking at the top 5 players in the Premier League for carries over distance. It's Cancelo, Diaz, Laporte, Rodri and Bernardo. That is a really poignant statistic at the moment. Shot creating actions per 90, KDB and Grealish are top. Bernardo Silva is just, playing some unbelievable football right now. And I think when we look at this City team, and obviously the Premier League is their bread and butter, but there's real correlation between them and champions of Europe in a sense of, let's take a Bayern Munich from 2012 when they lost to Chelsea, season after they beat Borussia Dortmund in the final. That just feels like what's happening with City at the moment. They were so impressive against Sporting Lisbon, the way that they combined, the way that the shape moved, and the interchange in positions, and John Stones especially in that right back position. It's it must be such a difficult sort of situation for Conte to prep himself for this team, because it's you don't know what you're going to get, you don't know what you're going to face, you don't know what threats are going to be there, but so good.
Quite an interesting comment, Andy, by Guardiola on Raheem Sterling this week, and this is a bit like Bernardo Silva as well at the start of the season, but on Sterling he said, "I'm so glad he's in his best form, his smile and mood. When players complain in general, it's about a lack of minutes, and you cannot be better and then you're going to be performing badly. But what Raheem has done, he is a key player, and I'm very glad he's back at his best."
Yeah, and you mentioned the Bernardo Silva one. I mean, there was talk of him leaving at the end of last season because he wasn't kind of getting the minutes that he deserves. And Pep has a way of, just when you think probably a player might be just drifting away from the group, of bringing them back in again, and the players really, really finding their feet and getting it going. I mean, some of the football that they play. you just have a smile on your face watching it. Honestly, you really do. If you could put it, like, it must be great for him. You could put a team out and say, this is how I want them to play. It would be Man City, the way they are in possession, the way they are out of possession. We had a really good discussion in our office the other day. It was who would you pick, Bernardo Silva in his prime or David Silva in his prime? And it nearly came to blows at one point.
Well, come on, what did you
answer?
Yeah, what was your answer?
Yeah, I went with Bernardo Silva.
Really?
I did. Yeah. And I know, like, it was like, I just think he's absolutely phenomenal. The way that he glides around the football pitch, how he is out of possession as well, which you don't normally associate with players of his kind of calibre and his technical ability. I just think in possession and out of possession, he's absolutely phenomenal. I love watching him play, but it was very, very split.
Oh, Dave, who would you go?
I think I'm on Bernardo as well. I think that he's a component of a team, and he can facilitate any role in midfield. You know, he could play as a 6, 8, 10, could play wide, can play left, can play false 9. David Silva was brilliant, and I'm not going out there and disrespecting a player that scored so many important goals for City, but also created so many for them as well. But I just think Bernardo Silva has that kind of intangible work rate built into him as a player that you just don't get. Like, it's such a rarity to have someone like that has the creativity as well. So, and I think as well, City are closer to the Champions League than they were with David Silva. So that's why I think Bernardo Silva.
Wow, James?
I'd be a David Silva man. I get all the points. Look, Bernardo Silva, obviously world class, but yeah, I'd go David Silva. I think just
what was so hard about playing against David Silva?
How long you got?
Yeah, I've got plenty of time.
It was not just him. Obviously, the whole team. You know, the movement, it was particularly. I remember going there and thinking, right, we'll sit on the edge of the 18-yard box and let them break us down. They just seemed to have so many numbers going forward. The 1-2s, the intricate play around the box. It was an absolute nightmare. I remember going there with Villa years ago, and I think we were 3-0 down after 18 minutes, and I was playing alongside Big Richard Dunn at the time, and it might have been less, 15-30 minutes in, and it was 3-0. I think we ended up hanging on 3-0. We actually went into the change room.
We ended up hanging on.
This is how mad it is. We actually went into the dressing room, me and Dunny, at the end of the game, and shook hands and went, we did all right there. It could have been 13 at one point.
Still 1-1, John?
It is still 1-1. We've just had a little nasty head injury. Ben Johnson and Joe Linton both went for the same ball and clashed heads, and I'm pleased to say both of them just back up on their feet, and it's just gone into a bit of a lull, actually, the game in the last 5 or 10 minutes. But if you were to pick a winner at the moment, I think I'd go for Newcastle. West Ham 1, Newcastle 1.
We started, Andy Reid, at the top of the show talking about the race for fourth. I did say to James then, it feels like it's there for anybody to grab hold of if they want to, given the form of some of the sides in the race. I mean, Arsenal are 4 points off fourth, and they've got 3 games in hand. So, would you make Arsenal favourites to finish fourth, Andy?
Yeah, well, I think you probably have to. Although I haven't said that, it's good to have the points on the board. But you'd expect them to pick up enough points to leapfrog West Ham. I think Man United, it's just so difficult to predict what they're going to be like. But with the quality of players that they've got on any kind of given day, with the individuals that they've got in the team, they can win a game of football. But I think probably Arsenal may be looking the most likely. Yeah, I mean, it's a very, very difficult one to call, because I don't think any of them are. I don't think Man United and West Ham are in particularly good form at the minute. It's but they've got some points on the board. Arsenal have to get them points on the board, but possibly, yeah, I think you're right, chappers. I think you have to go Arsenal as possibly favourites to grab it.
Dave?
At the moment, yeah, I would have, 2 weeks ago, it would have been Tottenham. With their underlying numbers, they look very, very dominant in the games, and they've gone on a terrible little run. I think that's the really important thing right now, is going on that run. But to consider that with Arsenal's, games in hand on Chelsea, if they win those 2 games in hand, they'll go behind. If Arsenal win those 2 games in hand, they'll go 2 points behind Chelsea. That is a pretty interesting statistic when we consider that Arsenal had a very strange start to the season, and I think with Arsenal, defensively is kind of where I feel they might tick over, because they've been so good this season. Only Ederson and Alisson have kept more clean sheets in the Premier League this season than Aaron Ramsey, and Petr Cech was the last Arsenal goalkeeper to record more clean sheets in a single Premier League season. And I think that, combined with a bit of freedom to Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe, Martin Odegaard as well, that's getting a little bit of run of creativity in the side, I think they might sneak in there. Well, it's not really sneak in anymore. I think they are favourites.
Sorry, Andy, you moved as if you
no, sorry, I was about to another time now. But I think with Arsenal, probably for the first time over the last few months, I could kind of see where they're going a little bit. With the young players that they're trying to develop, they're starting to get a little bit of structure, more structure into it. They look like they're going to, they look like they can be a bit more secure, which is probably something that was levelled at them before. And it just feels like they're starting to just build on something. I can almost see the direction where they're going. And, you think about probably it was early on in the season where there was a little bit of, people were questioning, was Arteta the right man to continue with it? And they've really turned that around, and to the point where when fans go and watch the team, and I've said this probably quite a few times, when fans go and watch the team, they probably know that they're not going to win every single game, but you want to see the direction that they're going, you want to see what they're trying to do. And I look at Arsenal play now, and I can actually see what they're trying to do now for the first time, so I think that bodes well for them moving forward.
It'll be a big summer for them as regards recruitment up front, though, won't it?
Yeah, I listen. It's massive. They need to get in a top class. Somebody but they probably need to get in guaranteed goals. I think that's what they need, and probably a bit more of a focal point. They've been very in and out, and you had you've got Lacazette kind of coming in there, and Nketiah kind of coming in, and they do an okay job. But I think they need a marquee signing in that position. I think they need somebody that you can kind of, right, we can hang your hat on him. You know that he's going to get you, between 20, over 20 goals, and you know that he's going to be a real focal point in games as well. Now that focal point doesn't have to be in terms of his stature; it can be in terms of his movement. But you kind of start to build your front pairings and your people in the 10s and the wide area, you start to build them around them.
These fixtures this weekend, the reverse of the opening day fixtures, and this actually at the start of the season, this fixture seemed to set the tone for both clubs. Arsenal on the back foot for a month or so, and Brentford off to a flyer when they beat Arsenal on that Friday night. We did talk about the relegation zone earlier and the problems that Brentford are having towards the bottom. Is there anything statistically, by the fact they're conceding more goals than they're scoring, Dave, is there anything else statistically that shows where Brentford have dropped off? Thomas Frank has talked about missing key players and injuries, but is there any other area?
So that's definitely one part, is that the players out. I mentioned David Raya earlier on the show, because I think that he's such a good goalkeeper, and we've seen them be defensively less stable with their lack of squad, you could say. Pinnock, Janssen and Ayer are a good back three, but without those three key components, they've struggled in a sense. They've brought players in from their under 23s or B team, should I say, that have had a vary of different control. But I think from a goalkeeping perspective, it is big from a possession, but also from keeping the ball out of the back of the net. You're looking at Alvaro Fernandez is underperforming in a few different metrics, but I do think with Raya in the side, that's important. Ivan Toney's another player that's very, very important, one of the most duels in the Premier League this season. Get the ball up to him and it will stick. And that's a part that's kind of fallen away from me from a statistical perspective, is getting him the ball, focusing on getting the ball high early. Sergi Canos as well, kind of expected a little bit more from a creative sense from him. And I think that's why Christian Eriksen's been brought in. It's for that creativity, it's for set pieces, and we know how good Brentford were at the start of the season with set pieces, but that's also kind of fallen off. I expected them to be up there with West Ham United, competing with Liverpool and City for having the most goals from set pieces. So that's another thing I think needs to kick on with the back end of the season for them to avoid the drop.
The other thing, I suppose, from Brentford's point of view, Andy, is they've just put, I know it was only a point, but it put an end to their run of defeats with the point they got last time out against Palace. It wasn't the greatest of games, but...
Yeah, no, I think them little points are really, really important. If the longer it goes on, the harder it gets, and you get the fans start to get itchy at the home games, and they start to kind of get a little bit worried after 10 minutes into a game, and then that transfers onto the pitch. So all them points that they pick up are really important. I mean, they're 7 points out of it now. You would think that that's that it'd be enough. But you've got to pick up a win or a bit, because the longer it doesn't go on, it starts to become more difficult. And they got that point. I mean, I expect them to be all right, but they haven't kicked on how I would have liked them to kick on. I think everybody got really excited. Even the game that they lost to Chelsea, was it? I think they lost 1-0. Was it Chelsea? I think it was Chelsea at home where they lost 1-0, but they were excellent. And you thought, oh yeah, I can see. Come on, then have a little bit of a go. So I think
they had plenty of chances in that game as well, actually.
Yeah, well, I think that there was loads of encouragement there, and Statman mentioned the set pieces. I mean, we had a discussion on here, and me and you were sending each other some of the set pieces for a little bit, Statman, because that's how interesting we are. And we were saying, how good it is. I have to just say, I mean, if I was going on a stag do over the weekend, I wouldn't be going on the radio the same weekend. By the way, I just want to clarify that I'm not quite that boring. I was just thinking, when you go on stag do's with your mates, you sit in the room and like watch games and do all the stats for the games and stuff, and that's what it is, where other people go out and do shots and get drunk and stuff.
That's the dream, isn't it? We sit down, we get the calculators out with the spreadsheets, we put the numbers in, and we have a great time. Everyone has fun in different ways.
That's very true, Dave, and don't let anybody tell you different.
I want to know who's marrying you guys. That's what I want to know.
Starman Dave, Andy Reid, James Collins on 5 Live Sport this Saturday afternoon. Another try in Super League. Saints are further ahead. Dave Woods.
Yep, Hull 0, St Helens 26. Jack Wellsby, lovely try. He set up 2 in the first half, and this one he created for himself. A chip into the in-goal area, chased it the hardest, dived on it, got a hand there on it first. Makinson has kicked the goal. The good news for Hull, it stopped snowing, but that's as far as the good news goes. 12 men Hull 0, St Helens 26.
Aston Villa have just tweeted, by the way, that there's been an incident on the southbound M6 near Junction 8. So if you're heading to Villa this afternoon, they're suggesting you find an alternative route to get to Villa Park. Obviously lots of travel chaos out there, weather chaos as well. Shrewsbury against Morecambe has gone in League One. That is postponed as well. So Shrewsbury Morecambe is off. If you're going to the Villa game this afternoon, Villa against Watford, try and avoid Junction 8. Southbound, can Fulham get back into it at home to Huddersfield? Flo Pollock.
It's still Fulham 0, Huddersfield 2. Fulham are on the attack now, actually, with Harry Wilson. He sets it back to Anthony Robinson, who whips it into the box. It is cleared. But Fulham just had an absolute gilt-edged chance. Nico Williams beat his man, whipped the ball across the box. Mitrovic couldn't get a touch. It looked like Neeskens Cavano was going to smash it in. He slipped and he missed. Fulham trying to fight back, but they're really struggling here. It's Fulham 0, Huddersfield 2.
So 6 Premier League games at 3 o'clock this afternoon. It's like the old days. We'll start at Anfield. Liverpool against Norwich. Ian Dennis.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a busy afternoon, and certainly busy in terms of the changes made by Jurgen Klopp, Mark. He's made 7 from the side that won away in the Champions League in the San Siro. Only Alisson, Van Dijk and Salah and Mane are the 4 who remain. Gomez makes his first league start of the season at right back. Matip comes in for Konate. Alexander-Arnold, incidentally, is rested. Tsimikas for Robertson. Henderson for Thiago. Keita starts instead of Fabinho. Oxlade-Chamberlain for Elliott. And Diaz for Jota. Jota and Firmino are both out of the side with ankle and groin problems, respectively. A little bit easier for Norwich, just the one change. Norman for Les Melu.
Now, bearing in mind you need lots of notes for your Saturday afternoon goal service, have you got enough things to weigh them down? Because if they blow off that main stand at Anfield, you aren't getting them back.
Well, I think in terms of being problems to be encountered today, I think travelling across the M62 through a blizzard, the M62 at the tail end was closed. I'm hoping it doesn't come in threes. Otherwise, although I've got to say, actually, the weather's greatly improved now. We've got clear blue skies and sunshine.
Oh, right, OK. I'm sure you'll have plenty of bags of sweets to weigh your notes down, though.
Not yet,
no. Statman very relieved, then. I've never seen somebody look so nervous about team news. Crikey.
So it's big play this week, Mark. Fantasy 606 listeners will know I have hit the triple captain button on Mohamed Salah. So if his points get tripled. So it's big that he starts both games, of course, Norwich and Leeds United. So I was a little bit stressed considering the midweek game. He played quite a lot of minutes against Inter Milan. I was thinking there's going to be a rest coming up with the final next few weeks. I was a little bit worried, but it's okay.
The gamble's paid off.
The gamble has paid off.
Let's go to Selhurst Park next. Crystal Palace taking on Chelsea. Ian Carter.
Changes afoot here as well. 4 of them for Chelsea from the team that started the World Club final. Out are the injured Azpilicueta, Mount, Kovacic and Hudson-Odoi. In come Jorginho as captain, Pulisic, Ziyech and Sarr. Kennedy, who hasn't played for Chelsea since 2018 and in the league since 2017, is named amongst the substitutes. 4 changes also for Crystal Palace. They're without Conor Gallagher, who can't play against his parent club. Also out Ward, Hughes and Edouard, who like Hughes is back on the bench. In come Elise, Koyate, Klein and the captain, James McArthur.
Bit different to doing the golf in Abu Dhabi?
I have to say, yes, it's not exactly Augusta here, and the weather here is horrific. It's really blowing, rain driving in as well, so it could be an interesting afternoon, Mark.
Well, we've been talking about Brentford and their recent form. They haven't actually won a match since the start of the year. They're at Arsenal this afternoon. Maz Faruqi.
And there is still no Ivan Toney for Brentford, Mark. Their top scorer is still missing with a calf injury. Brentford haven't scored without him in 2 matches. The one change for Thomas Frank from the team which drew with Palace last weekend is Josh Silva, who starts instead of Vitaly Janelt. Arsenal make just one change as well from their 11, which won at Wolves 9 days ago. Their top scorer this season, Emile Smith-Rowe, comes in with Gabriel Martinelli suspended after that bizarre double yellow in a few seconds, which saw him sent off at Molineux.
Let's go to bottom of the table. Burnley next. They're at Brighton. Aaron Paul.
Yeah, and Graham Potter makes 4 changes to his Brighton side that were beaten at Manchester United midweek. Lamptey, Duffy, Lallana and Welbeck all come in. Gross and Trossard are on the bench. Adam Webster is injured. Lewis Dunk is suspended after that sending off midweek. So Sean Dyche has made 3 changes today, with Tarkowski, Westwood and Rodriguez all missing out. Dwight McNeil, Jack Cork and Nathan Collins all come in for the Clarets.
Now this could be a really good one at St Mary's. Southampton looking to go 4 unbeaten. Everton looking for back-to-back wins under Frank Lampard. Sahel Sahi.
Yeah, it should be a good one, Mark. Hopefully the wind allows the 2 sets of players to play a good game down there on the pitch here at St Mary's. But very simple team news. Ralph Hasenhüttl, he makes 1 change. Tino Livramento, he replaces Romain Peru, who's missing due to COVID. Frank Lampard goes with the same 11 who won his first Premier League match as Everton manager. Dele Alli, he's still waiting to start for Everton as he's on the bench once again.
We are at Villa Park as well. Aston Villa against Watford. Pat Murphy there for us. I've got a great stat with regards to Watford, Dave, which I'm not sure you'll have got here. So this is a cracker. Watford are in exactly the same position, 19th, with 15 points after 23 games, as the Fulham side. Roy Hodgson took over mid-season and kept up on the final day in 2007-8. Now, Fulham drew their 24th game, 0-0 at Bolton, which was their first point under Hodgson. So if Watford get a draw at Villa today, it would keep it similar.
Oh, that is an absolute banger. An absolute banger. The one that I had, Mark, was a simple one. Watford have yet to score under Roy Hodgson. So hopefully today, Emmanuel Dennis as well, fantasy football related, needs some goals from him.
Well, also fantasy football related, Jonathan Woodgate alongside Ian Dennis this afternoon at Anfield, and you have triple captained.
Do we have to, chappers? Do we have to? I can't believe I've seen the team news and no Trent and a triple captain. I had to take a chance and I want to try and win it, so I had to go outside the box, and unfortunately Trent's outside the stadium, which is an absolute nightmare.
So in your league, where are you? What are you?
I'm 8th at the minute, but I can gain because I've got a couple of free chips. I've got my wild card, bench boost left, etc. But this triple captain has absolutely ruined it for me.
It does lead us on to the discussion, and we had this on Wednesday night after their win at Inter Milan. Their strength in depth, Liverpool's strength in depth in the space of about 6 weeks has gone from being probably the weakest of the top 3 of Manchester City, Chelsea, to suddenly on the same level, hasn't it, Jonathan?
Yeah, and if you look at that as well, it's all down to keeping all the players fit. I know apart from Hotter and Firmino in the Inter Milan game, but they've got an exceptional squad, and that is down to recruitment and getting the right bodies in. And what a job Michael Edwards has done to get all these players into the building at this same time in a crucial part of the season.
It's also a combination, Andy, isn't it, of... And I know they signed Harvey Elliott from Fulham, but it's also just 2 or 3 kids that they can drop in every now and then, and maybe Harvey Elliott is a bit more on than some of their other, younger prospects that have featured this season. but that aligned with the recruitment.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the club should be aligned. The club of the stature of Liverpool should be aligned with their academy. They've got an absolutely fantastic academy. They've, you know, the facilities and all the bits, and they recruit quite well. They spend some money on some players as well, some of the younger players as well. So to be able to integrate them in is absolutely fantastic, and a great timing to do it. And you know, you look at Curtis Jones. He's probably in the same bracket as Harvey Elliott in terms of they've had plenty of experience around that. But to be able to call on them when needed, and to give them the experience with playing with them pros, it'll only help their development, and it kind of bodes well for the future. I think they've built really, really well in terms of bringing the full squad together over the last 2 years.
Dave?
I think that it's absolutely spot on, and the signing of Luis Diaz, it kind of came out of nowhere, and he's someone that was just lighting Europe up, and whoever bought him had a £100 million player in the future. 25 years old, coming into his prime, goals for Porto this season, you know, 14 and 18 games, 4 assists. That signing is brilliant, and Liverpool haven't spent a lot of money recently, but it appears that they've waited for the right time to spend their cash, and credit to the recruitment team. We talk about Fabio Carvalho as well, one of the best young players in the Championship that's going to be joining Liverpool in the summer. You know, that is spot on. You think about Liverpool's long-term future with Elliott, with Carvalho, potentially with a Jota, or, you know, Diaz still being there at, you know, at 30, 31. Like, that is really, really good recruitment. And I think at fullback as well, we're seeing obviously Gomez start today, which is nice to see. Probably be a different structure for Liverpool in their build-up, which is always interesting. Tsimikas has come in to compete with Robertson, and that's taken his game to another level. And all the stat nerds out there will know this, that Robertson is closing in on Leighton Baines in terms of most assists in Premier League history. So we're all waiting for that moment, and we can pop out the champagne.
So Dave, is Luis Diaz the kind of signing that Liverpool do quietly and pay the right amount of money for, that other clubs might end up spending double on because they don't have the same well-oiled system?
Absolutely. No, it's an absolute steal, the price they got him for. And he's a player that has done it in the Champions League as well, been very good for Porto this season. But his aggression is there, his defensive positioning is there. Like, you look at a lot of the traits he has on the ball as well, and it's quite similar to Mohamed Salah. Like, he does this thing where he'll drag the ball down the line with his stronger right foot, down the left-hand side, look to cross. He did it in the first game for Liverpool. It's almost like a little bit Salah-esque in a sense of Salah likes that same move. So they've obviously seen something in there. You know that they would do the recruitment, or the sort of the pressing numbers in the background always going to be there, with Diogo Jota coming as well and that working out. So it just seems like a perfect signing. And City, Manchester United, Chelsea, Arsenal are all going to kind of rue this.
What I like about them is that they recruit specifically for their team and for their structure and for how they play. Now, I know that might sound obvious, but it doesn't always work like that. You know, a lot of recruitment teams, they go for good players who, you know, okay, you know they're a talented player, but then you put them in the team and you think, well, he doesn't quite fit. You look at the job that he's going to do, and you mentioned the link with Salah, and you've got a replacement for him when he's not playing, or you've got him then, you know, really, really pushing these top players on. To recruit specifically for your team and to fit into the way that you play is so important, because it's not always as joined up as what you might think. You see some, you know, you look at probably Man United's recruitment over the last few years, they've gone for really, really quality players, and then you put a team out and you say, okay, go on then, go and play. And football, it's not as simple as that. It's really not.
Well, and that was actually going to be my next question to you, Jonathan, really, along the lines of, they recruit for their team in the positions that they want. They identify great young talent in the Championship and try and bring them in at a fairish price, and then have their academy as well. I mean, it all sounds very obvious.
It's a very slick structure what they have, to be honest with you, and headed up by Michael Edwards, who does a fantastic job. And they'll have been watching these players for years, and they'll know the insides and outsides, they'll know family members, they'll know everything about them. And if you look at the players that they've bought, how many have they got wrong? And if you look at a Man United or a Chelsea, they've got a lot more wrong than what Liverpool have. I mean, like, you look through the squad, you go Fabinho, perfect, Thiago, perfect, Robertson, 8 million from Hull. What a signing that is. Mane from Southampton. When you look at Salah, who's at Fiorentina and Roma, he didn't go well at Chelsea. That was a gamble, and look what they've done to him. But what also they've done is they've sold at the right time. They sold Coutinho to Barcelona. They sold Lovren. They've sold all these different players, but made profit on them. Like with Nat Phillips, He probably worth, they got him from on a free transfer, I think it was Bolton. He's probably worth 15 million quid.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So it's not about getting them in, it's about getting them out at the right time as well.
The challenge now, which Jurgen Klopp has spoken about, is on keeping them all happy. On rotating players, Klopp said, it's the part I like the least. It's easy when the boys give you reasons, like spending 3 nights in a bar or a pub, but we've never had that. I could have rotated you, Statman, today. You'd give me an excuse.
Lucky.
Yeah, none of these players deserve it so far, and all of the decisions are really difficult, but it is all part of the game. And the business. Andy Reid, Statman Dave, Jonathan Woodgate at Anfield for us this afternoon alongside Ian Dennis. That's our base from 3 o'clock. Let's go to Villa Park, another 3 o'clock game. Aston Villa against Watford. Pat Murphy with the team news.
And Villa have dropped Ollie Watkins. He's been struggling lately. No goal in the last 6 games. He's been trolled on social media this week. And Steven Gerrard's sympathetic, but he realises that Watkins has got to start delivering. Danny Ings starts instead of him. 1 win in the last 6 league games for Aston Villa. 5 points in 6 since Christmas. As for Watford, they've got to start winning now. 2 points from 33 since November. 3 games under Roy Hodgson, no goals scored. They need to win 2 in a row really to get back in touch. And today, Ismaili Sarr, who absolutely eviscerated Villa on the opening day of the season, he makes his first start in 3 months. His pace will be crucial. And they'll be looking to Emmanuel Denis, hasn't scored in 2 months. They've really got the win today, Watford.
Feels like a very long time ago since Watford did what they did to Aston Villa. The snow has stopped at Hull, but the St Helens machine has not, Dave Woods.
It's not perfect timing because Lewis Dodd has just scored a terrific individual try for St Helens. They now lead by 36 points to 6. Josh Griffin-Redmo, it's a cheer for Hull when he scored in the 57th, but since then Sione Matortia has slid over, and now we just want to watch that wonderful weaving effort from Dodd as well. So Hull 6, St Helens 36, and we still have about 13 minutes left to play.
Well, in for a good last 10 minutes or so at Craven Cottage. Flo Pollock.
Yeah, the Fulham fight back is on. It's Fulham 1, Huddersfield 2. The ball fell for Bobby Dekwaneva-Reid in the box, and he struck it true and smashed it into the top corner. Under 8 minutes to play, it's Fulham 1, Huddersfield 2.
Let's just go back to the London Stadium and see if we're any nearer to one of these sides taking the lead. John Southall.
No chance, Mark. West Ham 1, Newcastle 1. I have to say it has been a terrible second half. James Collins, what do you want to say?
Yeah, I agree.
And that's about it. West Ham 1, Newcastle 1. We've got 5 minutes left for somebody on this pitch to try and win the game.
I was trying to sort of gauge the mood of the crowd through some of the effects that was coming through your microphones, and they sound slightly frustrated. Would that be fair?
Oh, here's a chance though. Shot is blocked on the edge of the penalty area.
To be honest, chappers, there's probably 50% of the crowd left in here.
Yeah. I mean, nicely, he didn't look that full at the start, to be honest with you. But are they just a bit? Are they a bit frustrated, do you think, with West Ham this afternoon?
Yeah, there seems that it's coming across. They're trying to get in good positions, then turning back. It's almost like a testimonial game at the minute. Both teams having possession and not really creating it. Like John says, the second half, the quality has been way off on both teams.
Well, what you said, James, though, is that West Ham they do look jaded to me.
Yeah, they do, for sure. Like you say, we spoke about it off air. You know, a lot of these players have, there's certainly the 2 centre midfielders, Declan Rice and Soufal have played every game. You know, they do look a little bit jaded. Mikel Antonio, again, he's been like it for a few games. They look tired, the boys, they do.
Yeah, and here comes Bruno Guimaraes for Newcastle. Joe Willock is coming off, so maybe he can bring some inspiration in these final 3 minutes of the game.
Okay, thank you. We'll be back there shortly. Jonathan Woodgate is at Anfield. Andy Reid, Statman Dave with us. Portsmouth against Crewe, the latest game to be postponed. That's Crewe against Portsmouth, actually. So that is at Crewe, and that has been postponed, and you would hope that maybe quite a lot of Portsmouth fans decided not to travel this weekend, but knowing the Portsmouth fans, I would imagine there's a lot of them probably around Crewe at the moment, but that game is off. Crewe against Portsmouth. And news now from Ewood Park. It's meant to be Blackburn Millwall in the Championship. Betty Glover.
Hey chappers, yeah, this game has been called off, as you can probably hear over the speakers now. The referee has made a decision for it to not go ahead. It's because of the condition of the pitch, concerns over player safety. I've been here from about 1 p.m. this afternoon, and I've been watching about 17 poor people shoveling the snow off the pitch. It's taken them ages. They're still not finished, and what is it now, like 20 past 2, isn't it? So yeah, they've made the decision to call the game off.
Right, so you're done for the day.
I'm done for the day.
Okay.
And you know what? I'm really pleased about it because I'm absolutely freezing.
Good, excellent. Right, go get yourself warm. Thank you, Betty. The just cut. Look, it's not easy, this, Andy, is it? But 2:15 to call the games off with fans in the ground is not ideal. But I take the point that it's probably not easy for anybody.
Yeah, it's definitely not ideal, and people spend a lot of money kind of getting there. They spend a lot of money in and around. The people probably bought the programs, they probably bought the food. Took 2 or 3 of their kids to the game, turned up early to soak up the atmosphere, and then all of a sudden, then the game's called off. It's really not ideal at all, and it's very, very hard on some people who spend that type of money, and some of them don't really have it to spend.
We are just keeping an eye on the final moments of both Fulham, Huddersfield, and also West Ham, Newcastle. Jonathan Woodgate at Anfield. Just going back to Jurgen Klopp and rotating players, and you'll have been in this situation. What he said about his players is they need to keep themselves in a good place. Be angry with me, no problem, but the next day show up and be the best you can be. If you drop in training, that isn't the solution. It hasn't happened with this group. It is absolutely incredible. You have to make sure you are in the squad, and I am only the observer. Now, he's probably not going to come out and go, well, I have got a couple of players who are a bit disaffected because, I'm not picking them. But to keep that unity with the options you have is some job by him.
It's great management, and to be honest with you, chappers, I think what will help is players like James Milner, Jordan Henderson, who are in the dressing room. If they're left out the team, you can guarantee they're going to be the best trainer on a Sunday after the game or on a Friday when they've been told. So them senior pros will actually help Jurgen Klopp and help keep the standards so high in training and help keep everyone heads up. Listen, every footballer wants to play every game. That is a guarantee. But when you're going they're instilling 4 competitions. They've got the cup final next weekend. They're going well in the Champions League, FA Cup, and they can still win the Premier League. So it's important that all these players stay fit and motivated.
Nigel Travis is the co-owner of Leyton Orient, and he has just tweeted that their game is off, and they are at Harrogate. So Harrogate Leyton Orient looks like it has been postponed as well. There is an early game in League 2, Northampton against Crawley. Northampton against Colchester. That's a 2 o'clock kickoff, and Northampton have taken an early lead there. Fraser Horsfall with the goal. They're in good form in Northampton. They've lost just 1 of their last 7. So I'm just waiting for official confirmation that Harrogate against Leyton Orient has gone. Also, on my system, it looks like Exeter Barrow has gone, which is a ridiculous journey for Barrow fans to have tried to do. And if that has gone, then that at 2 o'clock is, that's even worse than Crewe against Portsmouth, isn't it? Back to the London Stadium, John Southall.
God, we're just thinking of those Barrow fans.
That is not on, is it, really?
I thought we were having a bad time watching the second half.
It's still West Ham 1, Newcastle 1. Newcastle just had a corner kick, but good defending from Kurt Zouma. I have to say, Kurt Zouma has played well this afternoon.
He has. He's probably been the standout player, certainly in the West Ham team. Like I said, not a lot to do the second half, but what he's done, he's done really well.
Yeah, and here come West Ham down the right-hand side. We played 2 minutes of added time. We have 3 minutes more to play. West Ham 1, Newcastle 1, and suddenly a little bit of urgency from West Ham.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I think Exeter called their game off yesterday, to be fair. Exeter called their game off yesterday, so that's my mistake. Right. They called that yesterday, but Harrogate have just tweeted that their game has been postponed. So Harrogate has been postponed. Harrogate against Leyton Orient, the latest to go, because of the weather. How much stoppage time at Craven Cottage? Flo Pollock.
6 minutes left to play. It's still Fulham 1, Huddersfield 2, but Fulham are applying the pressure, trying to get this late equaliser. As things stand, Fulham 1, Huddersfield 2.
Daniel is a Portsmouth fan. Just seeing some of the messages that are coming in. Portsmouth crew cancelled 1 hour before kick-off. Fans had travelled for 6 hours on average. Were inspections carried out earlier in the day? Liam, the game gets postponed an hour before kick-off. Sorely, with all our advances in tracking weather conditions, it could have been cancelled much earlier, even yesterday. That's the crew. Portsmouth 1, Harrogate Leyton Orient has gone, and also Blackburn against Millwall has gone as well. Our base from 3 o'clock, and all the Premier League games are on. Liverpool against Norwich. We also have Palace against Chelsea, Arsenal against Brentford, Brighton versus Burnley, Southampton versus Everton, and Villa against Watford. I was just thinking, actually, Andy, on the Ollie Watkins being taken out of the Villa team today and Danny Ings starting. You know, he's a boot length. He's a boot length away from scoring at Newcastle, which, you know, would have ended his run.
Yeah, it's fine margins. It really is fine margins with strikers. And you know, I think we've spoken before. A ball come into the box, they can hit them on the backside and go into the goal, and it doesn't really matter. Their names on, you know, there used to be that one. I know obviously there's a lot more coverage. We used to be that one. It doesn't matter how the goal goes in. Your name's in the paper the next day. You've got the goal, kind of thing. You know, and that's all it can take for a striker. Is just a ricochet, just a little deflected goal go in for them, and they go on a decent run then. And you know, you find a lot of strikers that are kind of quite streaky in terms of, you know, once one goes in, they go bang, bang, bang. I think Ollie Watkins is probably one of them. But from a Villa perspective, Danny Ings is not a bad one to bring in, is he? You know, he's an absolutely fantastic striker who scored loads of goals.
No, and actually, one of the things with Villa and with Steven Gerrard, and before Steven Gerrard as well, was trying to find that balance, Jonathan, wasn't it, with Watkins and Ings in particular?
Yeah, they're two of your best players, and with the formation that Stephen plays, it's a 4-3-3. It's hard to get them both in the team. I know when Ollie Watkins was at Brentford, he played off the left or the right at times, but now he's got a slight conundrum where who plays. They're both two really good players, and I think they will score goals eventually.
But then, of course, Dave, as well, throw in Buendia and Leon Bailey, who they've got, and now you've got Coutinho as well. They have all of these options, and they need that balance.
I think it is all about balance. I think just on the Ings and Watkins sort of debate, I think, you know, Danny Ings is probably good against these, you know, slightly lower Premier League table teams. He's got 4 goals in his last 3 games against Watford, saying that's perfect. But having that squad is not a bad thing. You know, that's different solutions for different problems. I think it's like we spoke about Liverpool's squad previously. Villa have got quite good depth in those front 3 positions, whether it is 2 number 10s behind a striker, whether it is a forward behind a striker and a number 10, or it's a winger in Leon Bailey that we haven't seen the best of yet in the Premier League. We've seen flashes of his ability on the ball. But then you've got the runners from midfield, and I think we speak about that flashy side of Aston Villa with Coutinho, but Jacob Ramsey and John McGinn, you know, deserve that credit. And Jacob Ramsey, you know, the top scorer for Villa this season with 5 Premier League goals, come into great form, and a lot of his movement from that central midfield area really, really good. And it seems like he's got a bit of confidence now to put the ball in the back of the net. So, you know, as much as we do speak about those number 10, the depth they've got there, I think those 2 central midfield players arguably more important to Aston Villa right now.
Full-time whistle has gone at the London Stadium. John Southall.
Yep, it's finished. West Ham 1, Newcastle 1. The Newcastle players just going over to their supporters who've made that 12-hour round trip. There's the obligatory fan with his shirt off in the away end celebrating the point, and you have to say a good one for Newcastle. It was a really good first half. Both goals came in it. Craig Dawson, just after the half-hour mark with a header, his second goal in 2 games. Poor marking, though, from the away side. An equalising goal from Joe Willock just before half-time. Hooked it in. Declan Rice will not want to see it again. Second half, very forgettable. A couple of long-range efforts, one from Michail Antonio and one from Joe Willock, and that's about it. And James Collins, a draw about right?
Yeah, it's the right result, I think, John. Like you say, first half promised a lot. Both teams started off really well. an entertaining first half, and the second half sort of pitted out. I mentioned it was almost like a testimonial game. I think by the end, getting towards the end of the game, both teams were happy with a point. The probably the most exciting bit of the second half was the last minute. It was a little bit of a flare-up which was come from a nasty challenge from Dan Burn on Gerard Bowen, but other than that, there was very little to speak about in the second half.
Thanks for joining us, James. Very forgettable, the second half. So it leaves the table like this. Newcastle, of course, in 17th place, but they're now 5 points above Norwich. West Ham stay in 5th, a point behind Manchester United in 4th. It's finished West Ham 1, Newcastle 1.
Are you still there, James?
I am.
All right, I just thought the way John went, been good working with you. I thought you might have taken your
he's gone, sprinted
headphones off. I mean, the Dan Burn challenge was an old school centre half at best, that wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. We used to call it a freebie. I think he knew the game was stopped, and he's just sort of he knew exactly what he was doing. Gerard Bowen, I must say, it was the smallest man on the pitch against the biggest man on the pitch. He certainly wasn't that happy, Gerard Bowen, and he wouldn't be. Me and John watched it back. It was a pretty reckless challenge, to say the least.
That's go to West Ham, get a point on the back of recent results as well for Newcastle. 6 unbeaten in the Premier League. No Trippier, no Callum Wilson, no Sam Maximin. There's a very different atmosphere around the place.
For sure there is. I think Eddie Howe would be absolutely delighted with his team's performance. I think, looking at the stats, I think they probably dominated possession. They certainly didn't come here and look like a team in the position they are. Obviously, like you say, they're 5 unbeaten coming here, and they look more than comfortable, held their own, and like you say, Eddie Howe will be pretty happy on that long bus journey back up.
And they've got Brentford next Saturday as well. Brentford away from home, so if they could win that one, they'll be bringing Brentford back into it as well, potentially.
John, James, thank you very much. Reaction during Sports Report, of course. We'll hear from both managers. At Craven Cottage, it's all over as well. What a result this is for Huddersfield. Flo Pollock.
Full time, Fulham 1, Huddersfield 2. The Championship leaders left frustrated. Huddersfield came with a plan, deep block, catch them on the break, and they executed it perfectly. On the 33rd minute, Danny Ward volleyed home his 11th goal of the season to put Huddersfield ahead. Huddersfield then got a penalty late in the first half, Joanne Holmes finishing that off. In the second half, Fulham did apply the pressure and they pulled one back. A powerful shot into the top corner from Bobby De Cordova-Reid. And truth be told, Huddersfield were hanging on at the end. But the final score, Fulham 1, Huddersfield 2. Fulham stay top of the table, still 6 points clear of second place Bournemouth. Huddersfield leapfrog QPR up into 4th position. Full time, Fulham 1, Huddersfield 2.
Yeah, Fulham 64 from 31, Bournemouth 58 from 30, Blackburn 54 from 32. Their game postponed this afternoon at home to Millwall. Huddersfield 53 from 33, QPR 52 from 31, and Middlesbrough 49 from 30. They are the top 6 in the Championship. We'll go around all our 3 o'clocks in the next half hour, all over at Hull. Dave Woods.
Yep, Hull 6, St Helens 38. Dreadful conditions, but even through the rain and the snow and the mud, St Helens showed some real quality at times. 6 tries in total. The eye catchers, Josh Sim with a couple after great play by Jack Welsby, who scored one himself. Lewis Dodd, another of the youngsters, also with a fine individual effort. Hull hampered, of course, by the sending off of Luke Gale in the 30th minute for a stood-up challenge on Johnny Lomax as he was kicking through, and Hull, apart